Buono Vincino, buono noche, buona sera. Hello, everybody. How you doing? Good to see you. It's me here, your boy Maloney on the live stream. Any crack with you? What's the latest? I missed the stream there last week because I was very tired after the trip to Hamburg I had with Paulie G, Rodders, Peter, Niall, Andy, absolute crew of stallions, man. Stallions. Good old crack. Dr. Javid. Oh, I'll bring you in here for a chat on a Friday night. You can just ask questions. Billy White. How you doing, Billy White? Good to see you. And if any of you are watching, I'll say it now. If you like what you hear on this, please don't hesitate to send a PayPal to @Maloney's Digest. Thank you very much in advance. Billy White, Maloney's Digest. That was me, Chris J, Roisin Mac, all the lads here together. That's right. That's what's going to happen. It's late, like, but here we are. Paj Mahaj, well. Joshua Davis, good evening to you. Good evening. Helene, Shiana Helene, I'll think Brahmadia. Oh yeah. We've got a couple of rowdy touches in the house tonight. A couple of rowdy touches. Where do we kick the fucking week off? What mad stuff has been happening? Bad meme, crack Marty. Not too bad, BM. Not too bad at all. Chris Perez might be out there watching. He's hanging out with his cousin, just cruising around in some sort of American pickup truck job. How's the sound on the mic? Any scandal? Dr. David, are you joining me on the live stream, sir? Let me see what news has there been. Lots of news, man. Lots of news. Well, I dive straight into the old conspiracy stuff. Saw a good meme the other day that said it said something like it was a child asking the father what a conspiracy theory was. And it was basically someone who knows the truth before everyone else. It's quite interesting. 2 minutes, says Dr. David. Fair enough. Been a mental week. Nearly got World War III. Well, I guess that's a good place to start the chat going. It was a bit suspicious, wasn't it? Just blasting a missile into your neighboring country and then trying to trigger Article 5. I mean, I don't care what people say, man. That guy is a fucking bona fide lunatic, and he doesn't give a fuck. GP Productions, welcome to the podcast. Chris J, thank you very much, kind sir, for the €5 or $5 donation. Fair play to you. Thank you very much. CM Fox, how are you doing? I'm supporting Japan in the World Cup. It'd be interesting to who to support. And yeah, GP Productions podcast there. He's got some very interesting guests on his podcast. He's even had Chris Hansen from Take a Chair. I'm Chris Hansen with NBC's Dateline. Oh man, fucking great stuff. Yeah, sorry, and quite a few of the. I think you had Carol Baskin on as well from Tiger King. Some mad bastards altogether. Yeah, I've rather enjoyed looking at those videos from Qatar of either the poor bastards who had to build the stadiums or the locals dressed up as England and Germany flags, and they were trying to recreate the Skinner and Badil. It's coming home. Football's coming home. By God, it is. He's coming home. He's coming home. He's coming home. He's coming home. Like I saw the official thing that said no drinking in and around the stadiums. It's like, God, what a boring trip that's going to be for anyone who goes out there. Oz, how you doing? Hello from Scotland. All right there, pal. Chris J. Now there's a guy. Now here's a guy. Chris Hansen voice. CM Fox, it's cold. I'm waiting for the communists to turn on the heating here. Yeah, well, today was the first day I actually ventured into. I was like, just turned the central heating. So it's part of a house. So I'm dreading the fucking heating bill. But at the same time, it was snowing a bit yesterday, and the snow forecasted for the next couple of days. So we'll see how that goes. Seems winter has come early. The fucking boys are going to be rolling tanks over the border, man. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy that there's the human race is a inherently flawed species, and we always tend to think like, oh man, there was probably better times before this, but really the world has just been run by villains from day one. I think it's always been that way and it'll always remain so. So you've just got to, in some ways I feel like trying to get involved in it all. It's basically like having an asteroid coming towards the Earth and then being like, "Do you not know about the fucking asteroid, man?" And people go, "Oh, what are you talking about the fucking asteroid for?" Do you know what I mean? I just want to go down the pub and watch the football and go for a couple of pints, just fucking watch Love Island. It's like either way, the asteroid's coming anyway. So like, it's probably better to be ignorant to this kind of stuff and just enjoy the trivialities of life, really. So, it's a bit like having like a kind of a spot like you squeeze, and you're like, "Oh, I should really stop squeezing this and it gets infected." A bit like that, but more serious. So CM Fox says we can't turn it on or off and not even decide the temperature. Some Swede with a big button must be in charge. Yeah, when I was living in apartments, it would usually come around October. No, like I think mid-October is when they turn on the heating, and it was optional then if you want to turn it on or not. Are we Martin? Currently playing a poker tournament here. 8 left. Winner gets around £1,400. I'll throw you 5% of anything I win. Wish me luck. Well, I tell you one thing, hey, Patrick Clark, you'll fucking win it out, hey. You'll win that out. Just pretend you don't know what you're doing, and be like, what's going on here? And yeah, if you've got the best cards, use them wisely. And if you don't, just bluff your way to success. I put a pint of milk in the oven today instead of the fridge. Deeply disappointed in myself. Yeah, fucking Texas Pete. What's up, my dude? How you doing, Texas Pete? All the way there from Texarkana. I think that's probably not. That's probably in Louisiana. I was just listening to or I was playing a gig there the other night. I was playing Creedence Cotton Fields. Was like, way down in Texarkana. Is Texarkana to do with Texas? I don't know, man. But Texas Pete, that's a man who knows. That lad's on hash. Monkey hash. Michael DeCruz, greetings from Canada. You're very welcome to the show, Michael. I like it's great, man. I love the fact that all the streams I do, it's an international audience, and I think it's a really nice, eclectic bunch of people who turn up all the time, and that's why tonight I was like, do I go to bed? You just have a nice early night, but I was like, I've got to turn up and at least represent and say hello to everyone. I do enjoy having the crack with you all. You're all sound. There's not a bad apple in the bunch. Owen C. Story Martin. I'm from Castlebar, close to Swinford. Any memories are there? Good question. Quite a lot of memories from Castlebar. My first girlfriend when I was about 15 was from Castlebar. Worked in Dunn stores. And then there was the amount of times me and my mate Kinsella would get stuck in Castlebar because we'd end up going to like a disco or the bowling alley, and we'd get stuck talking to cool girls in tracksuits who'd end up going home, and me and him just ended up like having to find places to sleep rough for the night. One of those places was the benches in the dugouts of Castlebar Celtic. That was after Northern Ireland were playing Ireland in some sort of under 21s FIFA. Patrick Clark just busted in 7th place, crashed for 240, unfriendly, couldn't bring home the win. Hey, thanks very much. You brought the bacon to my plate. Fair play to you, Patrick, and I appreciate that. Cashed for 240. So did you get out with the 240 intact? If so, not too bad. Zan Solo, we love the crack. Oz says the giggly goo goo. Michael Cruz, the crack loves us. We're fucking prisoners to the cell of crack. CM Fox, we ever in Clune Fad? Clune Fad rings a bell. Clune Fad. Is that around Swinford, is it? The village, let me see. Roscommon, yeah. Clune Fad. I think I have been there before. What's this say? Spurned lover planned every detail of partner's murder, ex-partner's murder. Oi, there's a bit of mad shite going on in Clune Fad, hey. Oh, that's on the main road, is it? Oh no, County Monaghan. Let me go back to the StreamYard. Where was it? Is that in Roscommon? No, not there. Missy, my bell didn't ring, but made it in. Hey, my bell didn't ring either. Hey, ho ho. Chris J, you can only serve one master, the liver or the crack. It's a fucking tough call. It's a tough call. Someone's got to do it. Stephen Grant. All right, Steve. Great to see you again. This fine Steve Waterford. Oz fought to Oz. I always fuck this up. Oz befought to sorry, mate. I'll just keep calling you Oz. I've been playing All Saints Never Ever Ever since the stream a couple of weeks back. Tune, that's a great tune, man. I remember being a hormonal teenage lad looking at those women in that video, being like, "Oh God." But yeah, that's what happens in Mayo. But yeah, they were good memories around 97, 98. Good era. There's Dr. David to join us with talk of the 90s. Dr. David, very welcome to
Hello.
the kind sir.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Right, take headphones and talk to Dr. David. Oh, hello, David.
Oh, hello, Alan.
What's your
I
breakfast?
mince. I read a really
Oh,
interesting thing today, and you'll be interested in this because you have a boy and a girl, right?
that's right.
There's an experiment that it's a kind of a common one's been recreated, and it's called the marshmallow experiment. I don't know if you've ever come across it. So the experiment is that you get a kid in a room and you give them a marshmallow, and you say, "If I come back in 5 minutes and it's still there, I'll give you 2 more," right? That's the experiment. It's about delaying gratification. And guess who performed better, the girls or the boys?
The boys.
No, the girls performed better.
See, I thought it'd be the girls, but I was thinking that maybe that'd be the obvious one.
But like, is that true? Like, do girls? I don't have kids, but like, do they develop quicker mentally?
Don't know, but I popped out very quickly earlier on, and came back, put the dinner on, had dinner
Mm-hmm.
out, and then there wasn't much interest in the dinner at all. And
Mm-hmm.
it come to my attention later on that a whole bag of chocolates had been consumed by the pair of them, and thus appetite for dinner ruined.
But how about this? They worked. They probably worked together to do it.
Ah, yeah, of course.
So
There'd be
there.
deals and coverage applied to both parties.
Do you see any of you and your son in particular?
Yeah, big time. Like
Is it kind of like that mything of like he's looking back at you, or
partially,
it's
yeah.
you looking back at you?
Well, I see a lot of things in him that I used to
Mhm.
do. Like for example, if he's getting changed and I'm getting his pajamas on, he'll
Mhm.
always insist on doing the legs first. And I used to be like that as well. You'd feel vulnerable when, like, but you kind of, even though it doesn't make more sense from a thermal point of view because there's more mass on the top side, you
Mm.
still feel like, in case you had to like spring into action, you'd at least look presentable. So the
In other
thing
words,
that I asked him
it's a
about was like, I
security
don't,
thing.
don't. Yes, this is a security thing because he
Yeah,
was like, I don't want my legs showing. I'm like, all right, fair enough.
but
But
they
I
have their.
totally get it because I was the same way. Or like if he sees something like because he's quite a rowdy, rambunctious lad, and he's incredibly funny as well. Like we were watching that episode of Simpsons where Nelson is in the locker room
Mm,
and they're changing, or he's like the gym teacher tells him to get changed, but
yeah,
Nelson's wearing a pair of hand-me-downs from his mother, some pink knickers with
yeah, I know the
naughty
one.
lady written on the back of them.
Classy Lassie was the other one.
Classy
That
lassie.
Cletus gets for Brandine.
He came up with a comment the other day saying, like, I can't remember what we were watching, but it was someone who's wearing shorts and he just goes, ha ha ha, naughty lady.
The private joke between you and your son.
Yeah, there's a lot
But
of in joking going on.
yeah, but it's kind of weird how, I mean, obviously your genes carry through to your child, but like I wonder about your son and your dad. You know what I mean? Because it carries through.
Yeah, and they usually say it skips a generation.
What
I
does
mean,
like genes or
yeah, they say a lot of the time the genes predominantly,
mm,
obviously, you're going to pass the genes directly from the father to the son or the daughter, or the mother to the son or daughter.
yeah,
But the a lot of the hereditary differences, or should I say, the inherited genes come out. Like my daughter looks a lot like my mother, for example.
really?
Yeah, and
Mm.
when they did that face app on her when she was old, she looked like a cross between her mother and my mother. And
Mm.
and then when I did the face app, they did one for me, and I looked exactly like my dad with a beard. And I was like, shit, man.
Yeah, it's kind of I like there's a weird thing about that app. It's nearly supernatural, you know, because like it kind of predicts it's this weird kind of like Stephen King Black Mirror thing where like it seems to reasonably accurate predict
Yeah,
decay.
it is a bit weird and quite scary that AI that easily accessible to the average individual can predict how someone's going to look in their old age.
Mm.
But it'd be fucking handy if they reversed the age and spell and somehow fixed the degenerative process of the telomeres. Just for anyone who is unaware of who my guest is, this is long-time listener, frequent caller, Dr. David, an incredibly talented young man, if I do say so myself. And we're you
Oh,
know,
oh, go on.
oh,
No, really, go on. Yeah.
okay. We have a question here from Flame Sheep. It says, "What's your favorite moment in the critically acclaimed Zack Snyder movie 300?" Would you care to take us off there yourself, David? See what your opinions
I
are.
would say the moment where he says, "This is Spartak Moscow." I don't think I sat through the whole thing.
To a lesser
Um,
extent, David, what did you think of like the very timely spin-off of
mm,
that, the Meet the Spartans featuring Carmen Electra and a bunch of other, probably Jerry O'Donnell was in it, or Jerry O'Connell.
some people say that parody mockbusters are cheap and lazy and rip off, but those people are bitter. Um, I didn't actually see it. Like parody films, I think with Scary Movie, they just completely jumped the shark entirely. Like Scary Movie did it. There's nothing. I think Spinal Tap. No, Blazing Saddles was probably the first, or
What
maybe
about Scary
no
Movie
Frankenstein.
4?
I don't know. They all blur into one for me. They're the same thing. It's people say they're not great films. No, it's just a series of jokes. The film is a vehicle for it.
Mm.
But I think those things that took the piss, like I don't know. I just don't think Hot Shots did it. I just think it's a '90s thing.
Yeah, it's Hot Shots. I mean, I love that when I was a kid, but I wonder if I was to
Mm.
watch it now, how would I feel
No,
about
it
it?
does. It does. I think like that those sort of Zucker films they do stand up because like there is a kind of a sense of being clever in like throwing logic out of the way, and like even they did that great thing where they got serious actors to deliver, like sometimes soap opera actors to deliver those lines, in a really serious over the top way. Someone said there they love Waiting for Guffman. That's an incredible film. It's really understated.
I
The
haven't
ama-
seen Waiting for
it's
Guffman,
it's
but
the it's the amateur theater group. And one thing that I really like that people like Christopher Guest do is like it's really funny, but it really
oh
has
right,
heart
okay.
as well.
Waiting for
So
Guffman.
yeah, so
Do you know who's
they did
turned
Best
into a?
in Show stuff like that.
Oh yeah, the best in show is like the what is it? And then the Main Street singers are covered in water. What happened?
It was very funny at the time.
Do you
Yeah.
admire the handle here of our commenter here? Oil on the road, presumably taken an oil on the road. Please tell me if it's true or not. It was the Tourette's documentary of John Calhoun from Scotland who has debilitating Tourette's,
Mm.
and it's the best shop in Scotland.
But you know what, that guy should be given a Nobel Prize, right? Because if you think about what Tourette's is, it's basically the thoughts that you have, the intrusive thoughts you have that you think and don't say. There's some weird cross wiring in the brain where they just come out. And this guy seems to still
Linda
be
Sadie,
or just Arthur Daly when someone
Arthur
says to a
Daly.
reminder.
Yeah.
But like his whole thing
Don't
now,
text while driving, don't risk it.
but like
It's the best shop in Scotland.
but they see the funny side of it.
I'm a chicken fucker. Sorry.
And but then they kind of go like, "Ugh," when it happens, and they also kind of devote their lives to helping kids with it as well. You kind of go like, Jesus Christ,
TLC, Tourette's Lifelong Care.
where do you where do you get that strength from? How do you not turn into like a bitter like it's totally understandable to do that. Like, where do they get that? Because it's so public. You're like
Yeah, but I
you're
think
publicly humiliating yourself every 10 seconds, and the
like,
more nervous you get, the more it comes out.
but the thing is, I think when the general community around an individual with Tourette's
Yeah,
gets onto that, it's they can't help it. They become it's quite endearing. It's
yeah.
like can you imagine how it feels? It's like that Tourette's documentary from 2001, which still remains one of the finest pieces of television. Narrated by what's his name? Spall. Timothy Spall.
Timothy Spall. Yeah, he played
Yeah.
Ian Paisley recently in the film.
Did he?
Yeah, alongside Colin Meaney as Martin McGuinness. I swear to God, I'm not making that up.
I
It's
mean, it's
true.
Martin McGuinness. They're fucking real. I was on a film with him once. Fucking sell, man.
Didn't he?
Drunk the pint in 2 steps.
Didn't he kind of get slightly pissed off with you kind of quoting back intermission? He was like, "Yeah, well, I've done other things."
Yeah, well, it's every time I met him, I kept bringing up Jerry Lynch, Life on the Streets from 2002. Is it 2002? 2000? I think it's 2003 intermission.
2003 intermission. Yeah.
Yeah, which still remains one of my favorite
Yeah.
films.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what is your? So I'm just going to address this first before I look at those comments. Oil on the road, Crack Maloney. You see that NASA found alien life, but are yet to release it to the public. I'd say this. Yeah, I wouldn't be one bit surprised. There was actually, in fact, the ex-defense minister of Canada, Paul Hellyer, came out in front of a massive committee. I think it's about 12, 13 years ago, and he just said that he wanted to be one of the first from the G7 or the G8 committee to say that unequivocally that there is extraterrestrial life and that we've been in contact with them for years. And according to him, he reckons that there's a couple of different species: tall greys, or the tall whites, Nordics, reptilians, mantids, fucking little grey lads. Danny Dyer. I don't know what's going on with my brain right now, right? But nah. Remember that bit again? I'm bringing it up again. Actually, do you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Let me just see if I can show you this. But before we go on to showing Danny Dyer, let's have a look at some of the comments regarding 300. Was a very good film, and I think there was a message of personal integrity and strength weaved in throughout that. And I think that was probably one of the latest in anything to do with like hyper masculinity. I think in terms of what's coming out of Hollywood lately.
But did you think that the characters were a little bit kind of
melodramatic?
Yeah, I mean the whole thing was that it's inspiring, and what I did like about it as an idea is that until recently enough, there's a few things that have brought it into common consciousness, but Greek myths are kind of the first ways humans tried to understand each other through stories. And I think introducing those elements into life now, like actually makes people think about these, these like thousands and thousands of year old lessons. So I liked it about that. But I don't know. It's not my kind of film, really. I don't know why that is.
I watched it recently because it came on. We have a dodgy box, and I haven't watched much of it lately. But over the summer, I was just like, okay, it said like Sky Action, and a film is just like Village Roadshow or something came up, and I was like, whatever it is, we'll watch it. And it just happened to be 300, and yeah, I mean, it as some of its parts as a film, it was quite good. Looking back, I mean, somewhat dated maybe, but Fassbender played a good part in that called Stelios. You could tell he was a real unhinged madfucker in it.
But I mean, was it a bit of a kind of a post 9/11 film? Like like against is it the Assyrians or the Egyptians? Is that who it's because it's the Spartans?
It's the Spartans against the Persian Empire.
The Persian Empire. Like I kind of thought that was like post 9/11 East versus West, kind of being played out. I don't know.
Well, maybe there was an element of that to it. I wouldn't, but that would have been 6 years later.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Now maybe I got the timeline.
But still, I suppose it would have been it would have been of that era.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in years. I mean, but I think, is it kind of on the long side of things? Is it like 2.5 hours or something?
About 2 hours, I think. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was quite enjoyable. I quite enjoyed sitting back and I met Dan from Spring Break the other day here in
Okay.
Stockholm.
Mhm.
Soundskin. I was playing in the pub the other night, and I was just finishing up, packing everything away. And he was like, "No way, man! What are you doing?" I was like, "Fucking hell! I've seen you since the Mercantile in 2017 after the Guns N' Roses gig." But great guy, and he was playing. It was he was playing with Duncan Maitland in the
Oh, Duncan. He's playing with
Led
Jack L now.
Zeppelin. Who Duncan Maitland is?
Yeah, he had a thing there on Facebook with him being in rehearsal for the 3 Arena gig.
Jack L's facial hair is designed by Porsche of Stuttgart.
Pretty much is. But Duncan is a renaissance man.
Yeah, he is.
As a musician, he's also one of the nicest, funniest blokes I've ever met. I think everybody would say that about him.
Yeah, and he's a very funny guy as well. Oh, the singing detective! Oh, I love that.
Yeah, have you ever seen that?
I haven't actually, but I do remember me, him, Brian Conway, Henry, my brother-in-law, and my dad in 2002 sitting around Moyne Road, the house we'd finished doing up, and it was towards the end of a 2-year long campaign of fighting all elements and our own inner demons to complete the renovation of this house in Ranelagh. And it was getting cozy now at this stage. Everything was put in, and it was now a comfortable dwelling. And it was before I went off interrailing, but I remember Brian had got us some squidgy green hash, and it was really, really nice, fun stuff that you giggled on. And we were watching Piranha 2, Flying Fish, and it was one of the funniest nights I've ever had. And I remember Duncan going, "Oh, I remember this bit. This is the bit where the fish comes out and bites the guy on the neck." And I was like, "Nah, that doesn't happen." And sure enough, it did. It flew out of the water and bit him on the neck. Piranha 2.
He does sound like a Beatle. He sounds like someone. He sounds like they couldn't afford to get a real Beatle to do a voice in a cartoon.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
they kind of got him instead. Graham Russell. Is that the Graham Russell of the many-faced God?
No, that's
Oh, sorry.
Kyle Cleghorn. Graham Russell is Snap Russell's Snap
Jack
Russell's
Russell's.
jacking at the heels of a Rottweiler. Yo, we
Yeah.
got my man Chris Perez here. Oh, Shaunene's in as well, man. Got some
The man
heavy hitters in
himself.
the night here. Martin and the tenacious Dr. D. I saw a fucking great one the other day on Twitter. There was someone had put up a thing about like Rishi Sunak and Klaus Schwab, Trudeau, a couple of other lads dressed in some ceremonial Indonesian crack.
Mhm.
And someone said, like, write the name of this band. And someone wrote Tenacious Depopulation. The other one was Megadeth. And there's quite a few more. If I do
I didn't
recall
see
it.
that one. Normally those things reach critical mass and they just become saturated with everything. Did I tell you about my? I think I showed it to you. My recent addition to my arsenal of instruments. I did show it to you. Yeah. I think I did.
The Martin, the
No, it's a jumbo.
the Sigma
The
guitar.
Sigma one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very nice, very earthy, very
Well.
notes of oak.
Well, yeah, it's like an old lady's hair, but yeah,
Oh,
you're welcome to play it when you come over.
yeah, thank you very much. I've really got to start coming over. I need to I need someone to just help me organize gigs because I just don't have the. If there's anybody out there in the chat who wants to become my booking agent, Dr. David, yourself included, mate. I just need someone as a producer because it's just too much for me to do everything here in Sweden and doing everything like just on the home front. As a divorced father, it's very difficult to get everything going at once. But if I can get someone to just book me the gigs in, I can direct them to where I want to be playing. but just someone to sort that out with schedules and book an agent, man.
Speaking of which, for the podcast thing that we do kind of on and off, what if we just targeted shit celebrities in Ireland, where
There's no shortage of them.
pretty much you can contact them directly and they have no idea they're being taken the piss out of. Because they're just so hungry for some level of publicity. Like maybe I'm revealing the trick here in advance.
Yeah, well, I think why not, man? Sean says, is Twitter still up? I've been told 36 times. In 24 hours, Twitter's death was said. What's the fucking deal with Rob Rayner, man? I mean, that dude, he keeps popping up on my timeline, and I thought I'd muted him, but he was funny as Marty DeBerkey and then he only seemed funny because he was playing the straight man against the other lads in Spinal Tap. All he fucking talks about is the Democrats, Republicans, Trump's going to get impeached. And I've noticed a pattern, right? That a lot of these like Hollywood types who are really like pro-Democrat, it's like George Takei. I was like, something about George Takei, who played Zulu in Star Trek, that he seems like he's a bit of a wrong'un. And then I just typed in George Takei sexual deviant into Google to see what happened, and he was apparently like, look, I'm not saying anything against the guy. Apparently he was once accused of groping a man.
But I think what happens is that, and it was someone at work was telling me about this the other day, like, you know, how people end up, you know, causing massive trouble for themselves or saying things they shouldn't or being caught with bad behavior. And I never realized it. It's because they're bored and they have loads of money.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the devil makes work for idle hands.
But also, you've got so much money, you are at the top of media exposure. Like, what are you going to do but just probably develop a drug problem because you can? Like, most people don't have the opportunity to do that. That's why they're always caught cheating or doing something horrific. It's because they just feel, well, what else would I do now?
I was going to say, sorry. So is Dr. David actually a doctor of something? I mean, no disrespect, asking sincerely.
Homeopathy.
Homeopathy. Takeshi's castle job, says Graham Russell. What was I going to say? I know I've got to try and get the Danny Dyer video on, but that'll take me a while to do. Aaron Carter checked out, man.
Yeah, he was 34. I'm not a medical doctor, but
I followed me back on Instagram, and I was like, look at that, man. Aaron Carter's followed me back on Instagram.
Yeah, I thought he was in the Carter twins, but that's not him.
What is that? Another shower of Carters? The Carter twins, once in Ireland.
Carters are different. Years ago.
Rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama.
No, it's Nathan Carter. That's a different. That's a different dynasty of Carters. See, it's like
they're how many Carters are in the music business, man?
But about 12 years ago, I'd say, I just in a pub made a joke about the Carter twins, right? Because no one's heard of them in 20 years. And the lad to the right of me turned and said, yeah, they're my cousins, and one of them actually drives a Ferrari. All right. Bit defensive there of the Carter twins.
Yeah, I know, fucking hell, man. They're good lads once you get to know them.
They don't even have their own Wikipedia page. It's a damn shame.
The Carter twins, man, yeah.
We should get
They are actual twins by the looks of things.
Can we actually...
The 12th of never? Fuck me,
The 12th of never, yeah. It was great. But, right, here's a question. Could we actually get Dane Bowers on this podcast? Because I know he was a punchline.
I think we probably could. I'd say Dane would be a good sport, and if Dane,
I hope he's not. I hope he's not. Like, I hope he gets pissed off.
Well, with the question. If Dane came on, Dave, if he didn't come on, I think he'd be out of his mind.
That was good. But like 2000, 2001, like, I mean, proper, like, as in mentioning their name, you go, fucking hell, really? Is he still alive? You know, people kind of like that, like anyone from Another Level or A1 or any of that sort of raft of bands, and like you have to pretend that you're actually a really big fan.
You have to do some deep dive into their back catalogue.
I definitely, yeah.
That
Sounds like
mishap
an
in
innuendo,
Swansea.
that.
What happened? What mishap in Swansea?
Just because some people have been suggesting, not me, I
Just
should point
making
that
up
out.
fake stories. Well, according to metro.co.uk, a 2017 article, it says here that you were done for interfering with a swan.
I just want to give you a chance to respond to that.
Eiffel 65, Mikey J has good taste there, man. Right said Fred, I have to say about those lads, man. They've really fucking, like I shared something yesterday, Bill Gates, and there's this one fool who keeps fucking, he goes on to people and he takes a vehement stance to anything that the establishment puts out. Well, he shouldn't have been driving there, or like he's just a
Reactionary.
crank, basically, a
Yeah.
reactionary crank. And I put something about Bill Gates, and someone wrote, "Oh yeah, that happened, did it? Where's your proof?" He said to me. I went, and he's just like, the other day he came on and said something, and I said, and rather than getting on the venomous side, I was like, Sean, good to see you. I've really missed you. Like this, but he said, he was talking about like Bill Gates and Cranny Man, who's a good lad, was talking about it, and they were just having this argument about Bill Gates. Actually, he did say this. They're on about death panels for basically the elderly. So, and I basically said, well, there's no wonder that you can't. There's no money for these people when wankers like Bill Gates exist, taking everyone's money, right? So, this guy Sean O'Coleman, or whatever his name is, comes on and he's fucking on Bill Gates' side of all people. And then I just wrote, I heard, was it your ma was 69 and Bill Gates while watching Deep Space Nine?
That suggests that it was during the day as well, when they didn't have anything else on to do. There's an even added level of insult that she's trapped in the past.
Oh, what was it? I'll actually. It's worth revisiting the note, the
Needless to
thread.
say, I had the last laugh.
Needless to say, I had the last laugh.
Somebody there said, right said Fred. There's a Queen tribute band called Right Fred's Dead, which I think is genius.
Had to be done.
Yeah. Have you noticed the amount of people saying 100% now? I fucking hate that. Instead of saying,
that creeped
yes,
in over the
I
last couple of
agree.
years. That did.
100%.
Oh, here he
100%.
is, Sean O'Sullivan. That's his name. So let's see what is. So it basically says here, Right said Fred put this up, which was I wrote, there will be, so Bill Gates tells G20 world leaders that death panels will soon be required. Pretty much what happened over the pandemic with the elderly and Midazolam, but let's not go into that. Unelected World Health Czar Bill Gates used his appearance at the G20 summit in Bali, Indonesia, to raise a discussion about death panels. According to Gates, death panels will be necessary in the near future in order to end the lives of sick and unwell people due to very, very high medical costs.
That's
so
a great
I wrote, Ted Moore disturbs. And I wrote, there would be plenty of money for such things if greedy, unelected charlatan wankers like him didn't exist. So Sean O'Sullivan gets in and says, do you have evidence of that, or did you make it up? And I mean, unless he's like a really good troll, I don't know. I wrote, your mum sent me some unsolicited Polaroids of yourself and Bill 69ing while watching Deep Space Nine.
Did he respond?
He responded to, DS9 is a great show. You should give it a try. Euro lady has worms, etc. I wrote, isn't Deep Space Nine a porno? No.
I really love when things are just totally derailed. Like, not just when it becomes ad hominem, but just something completely that derails it. Because those arguments are just so boring. They're the same every time.
They're pointless and circular. I mean, no one will get anywhere. I see Epstein is trending, along with gender ideology and Slava Ukraini. And then down the bottom, Jesus Christ, is coming in at 41.1 tweets. So SOC Irish Doom fan says that he then joins into the discussion to Sean and says, You are calling into question the highly reputable intellectual giants, right? Said Fred. And Granny Man then writes, the evidence that Gates said this is Gates saying it. No.
I like
And when did you say that? Is there a video? Yeah. Where?
see a cursory Google in that first instance, probably would have saved in that. But this is the great thing about doubling down, and I think the best. Do you know what doubling down? I think is like an internet culture. It's like the Black Knight in Monty Python, the Holy Grail. He just refuses. It's and I think it's like Brexit. It's like your arms off. No, it's not. It's just that like you're obsessed with being right. I don't think I have that thing. Someone can say, well, what about this? And I go, oh yeah, I never thought about that. But like it just seems to be lads trying to be right about things is what a lot of the internet's about. Like
it's even if they don't actually, they're not 100%. 100%. They're not like
100%, 100%, man.
Oh, here, 100%, man. 100%.
All lads.
Here, 100%.
All lads.
But I hear, even if I don't fucking know the full answer to it, I'm doubling down anyway. And if someone has anything that refutes my statements, I'll just say, where's your proof?
I'll phone a friend, man. Although that'll probably be WhatsApp now.
Hello, is that Sean? Yes, Chris Tarrant here, Sean. Yeah. So we've got Bart Maloney here, and he says that right said Fred are intellectual giants. Quoted Bill Gates at the G20. Do you want to find a friend? Yeah, that's by Chris Tarrant. Not great. Certainly not as good as my Simon Cowell.
No,
I mean, are you serious? I mean, guys, come on.
Do you know who Simon Cowell is, right? And I think I know why he has that name. Simon Cowell is the closest thing we have to a medieval executioner.
It's a very good point, you know.
Because
I mean, like
effectively,
he's executing people's reputation.
Like, I mean, he wears a cowl, like an executioner. And the whole thing is like he generates a certain truth. So if he says it's brilliant, it becomes that. If not, there are people with, let's say, issues that are led onto those programs and are allowed destroy. The people who aren't well.
Very similar to, well, I mean, like at least people went on there with the misguided hopes of becoming. I think I could become one, or like for example, Steve from Sheffield, who's like, why are you here out of interest? Because I believe I could be #1 world selling rapper. He goes, okay, off you go. So anyway, what's been happening, man? I got all the pictures on your pussy span. Just hit me back. Check the shows. Stan. 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4. Looks, personality, talent, no. Still got the confidence. I mean, Stephen. It's just awful, mate. Just awful. Yep. Well, I've been told different. By who? I've been told different by a lot of people. What do you think? I agree with them. It was awful. Well, whatever. That guy. But he was actually a minor. But imagine, like, he came on again a couple of years later, and like Cheryl Cole was going, "Oh, are you gonna do a rap for us? Oh, I love the rapping. I don't know. Got my new music. And he's like got this fat lass for a girlfriend who's got the worst teeth I've seen. No, I'm not slagging her off. I'm just objectively describing what this is. They put this in.
Yeah.
And the joke was on these poor bastards, right?
It's class baiting as well. It's class shaming too.
Yeah, and that's what Jeremy Kyle did. You're into cocaine and dealing wonky cars, and you could see Jeremy Kyle. He's one of those fuckers who moralizes about how people should be, but really you know behind the scenes that he's probably one of the most sleaziest dudes going. Like I mean, Jerry Springer, Jerry's Final Thought.
Well, I mean, that's sort of what he made his money on. But like with the X Factor thing, the thing is, like, the internet is full of people's falls from grace. It just seems that we sort of think, oh, it's terrible, but yet we like it. I don't know why that is.
It's a kind of morbid curiosity of, again, the similar mindsets to people who probably would have attended public hangings back in the day. it's
Like, we're
just.
not that different from those people. We like to think that we're super civilized, but
Well, me
are
and my
we?
mate Mark Mulholland were watching a load of Jeremy Kyle videos, and then it kind of hit me. It was like, fuck, man, these are real people with real lives, and they're just.
Mm.
My sister was actually a production assistant on Jeremy Kyle. My
Did
younger
you have to
sister.
sign like a non-disclosure agreement and stuff?
Not that I'm aware of, no, but the runners on the crew were encouraged to smoke, and the buffet table would
Mm.
be like, triangular plastic packed sandwiches and cigarettes. And the
Mm.
reason was they go out and they'd smoke the cigarettes, and the producers
Uh,
go out with them and get the information from them as they're smoking.
but like, I mean, it's kind of like if you think about it, like these are probably the people who need the most help, and yet there's a thing in Britain, in particular, about it. It's this thing like I think in right wing Britain about like if you're poor, well, fuck you, you
Yeah,
know.
I think that's just in the whole world nowadays.
Yeah, but like I mean,
Ireland's
yeah.
definitely like that as well. It's like you've
Mm.
definitely got your kind of your fresh nautical lads going around different docks, and then just living it up and going, I'm gonna like fucking Shanghai for the week.
But like,
uh,
but we inherited our class thing from Britain, though. Like we inherited those ideas of class. So
I'd say the
basically,
states as well. Like
yeah,
the American influence on Ireland is. One second, just gotta let the cat in. Talk amongst yourselves. Address some questions there, Dr. David. Man the ship, if you will.
man, the ship. Um, are there any questions so far? Anything you'd like me to recap on? Wonder what the cat's name is. Best rock band. I would have to say the Rasmus or Evanescence. What's up, Doc? I'm not a medical doctor, a doctor of
Yeah, come on. I'm just gonna feed the cat.
literature, I think is what it is. Is that the technical title for it? So I can't give you any prescriptions or diagnoses, but if you need anything cool to say, then just send me an email or something. Oh, there was the cat. It's not the same cat as you had earlier. I don't know what's going on there. I think we should have taken an ad break. Oh, someone's listening to us while unclogging a toilet in Ontario. Yeah, I mean, in a way, aren't we all unclogging toilets in our jobs? I mean, I know you are literally. Rural Ontario, it's quite cool. Sounds like you're living the Kerouac lifestyle, but in Canada. If I'm not a doctor, why did you have me drop my trousers? You said that was a joke afterwards. I think I would have got that was. I'd like to think that I would have got that was a joke anyway. I don't know about his politics, but he sings a good ballad. Not sure what that refers to. Is he back? Is that him? Oh, we were just talking about you.
Oh, good stuff, good stuff. Gotta tell you one thing, man. Those cats are absolute beasts. Like, especially the ginger lad. He's had like 4 pouches of food today. So hungry bastard like myself.
Has he been lifting out the back garden?
He's been fucking benching, man, non-stop. Now I'm gonna try and see if I can get the Danny Dyer UFOs thing.
I can't find it anywhere.
Oh, I'll fucking find it here.
Like me and my missus are massive Danny Dyer fans,
I
and
I
nothing.
think he's fucking hilarious, man.
But I think he didn't know. See, the weird thing was he was a serious actor. He was in like a Harold Pinter play.
No, I will Pinter.
Yeah, and then he just did this absolute bullshit like lad kind of culture thing. And then I think he sort of became obviously a figure of ridicule and then sort of embraced that by going on Celebrity Juice. But like he's still a ridiculous human being.
Yeah, but that's what I love about him. What I really
Mm.
love about Danny Dyer, it was that time when he was David Cameron was on, and he was on Newsnight or something, and he goes, David Cameron's a wanker.
But do you know that the part of Super Hands in Peep Show was originally written for him?
What, for Danny Dyer?
For Danny Dyer, yeah, and he turned it
Oh,
down.
he fucking missed out there, didn't he?
That's why they referenced Danny Dyer later. The name of the band is Danny Dyer's Chocolate Homunculus.
It is.
Yeah, later on, one of Jeremy's bands is called Danny Dyer's Chocolate Homunculus.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Sorry,
Yeah.
So let me see how I can get this in. So
No, that works.
okay, cool. Let me see if I can just.
Hang on, I've never been able to see that. I've never found that. When's the fem?
When the
did you do it?
pyramids built before the flood. So let me see if I can just. Oh shit! I just want the fucking cinema size one, lad. My computer is getting very old. Okay, so hopefully you can hear this, right?
I think you have to share with sound. So I think if you go into settings or you go to present, I think within the settings you can share sound. Do you want me to do it?
Right, 1 second. Before I set out on this journey, I need to know the odds I'm up against. It's my dream we're not alone in the universe, science fact or science fiction. Oh, fuck, have you lost the picture there?
I think it's just gone on. I think there's just a no, it's back.
He's kind of see a very intelligent man, very old man now. Look at him. You can see he's hungover, right?
Mm.
You can see he's hungover. And what I love about this is the fact that when you go to this point, you can see he's drinking 3 beverages. We've got a twi. Let me see now if I can get a picture of when he's sitting beside Sir Patrick Moore. Patrick Moore, fairly put the timber on. Okay, so you got a coffee. One sec. So yeah, he's got a glass of wine there. There's water and a coffee. So it's like you can tell he's had
And
a
so
good
basically,
setup.
he's gonna wreck Patrick Moore's Jack.
Sir Patrick Moore and the cat over there just having a chill session.
So a hangover with coffee and wine, like
And
there's gonna be
I
it's gonna be carnage.
Can you hear it, Dave? Can you?
No, I can't. I can't hear. I think you have to share the sound separately. So like when you go in to present, there's probably a setting to share the sound too.
Oh
See?
man. So I'll see if I can share. It doesn't really give you any options unless maybe I'm not looking at it.
Hang on, let's try it.
Audio. Let me just check this. It doesn't say anything about.
You look at the follow steps to share a video and audio. So some screens let you share audio. Look for the share audio checkbox on the next window, is what it says.
Wow. Okay. So I didn't realize that I could use. Oh, look at this! Wow. Didn't realize there's all backgrounds, man. I can upload a background. Let's.
Looks like you're living in Mikey Graham's gaff.
Up in Baldoyle. Okay,
There's a great thing on Keith Duffy was on Podge and Raj, and they were like, "We're boys are never getting back together." He's like, "Maybe." Yeah, Podge goes, "Do you think Mikey Graham will get the time off Abracadabra?" and he just you can just see he was kind of stifling a laugh, like, because I think of all of them, he just went completely off the radar.
Oh man, Yeah, but he is sound, to be fair to him.
Oh yeah, he does see. But he was on The Apprentice shortly after you, I think,
Um,
or on the same time.
yeah, he was. Yeah,
I
he just
can't find that episode that you were on. It's not online. Was it taken down or something?
um, yeah, it is. Thank God, it is.
Did you get it taken down?
No. I think it was RT who did.
Did you get sacked in the first week for
Shit.
taking the
Well,
piss out of
I
it?
didn't. I didn't get sacked in the first week. I didn't get sacked in the first week. I was like, fuck this, man. I'm out of here.
And what, did they arrange for you to be fired or something?
I use that in I use that still. I use that still, Dave. Yeah, in
A stateside on holiday.
it was the political. It was the political USA of stateside. It was called. It's just a picture of that in the background.
It looks like you're doing shit 90s observational stand up there with that
It's like,
background.
hey, what about chairs? Right? You got chairs. They got 4 legs. Sometimes you got stools.
What's the
Stools have
deal?
got 3 legs. If you're milking a cow in the olden days, and you got the fucking stool there, you got the cow, and when I was a kid, I thought cows had 4 willies.
Like
How about tits?
it was so easy to be a stand up back then.
Yeah, all it was, as Dermot Whelan once told me, he was like, Neil Danimer gave me some great advice. Stage miles. And I think I was observing Dave Chappelle when he was just on stage, just having a bit of a chat, and it's the being comfortable enough to sit in front of a crowd and just talk to them, and obviously have some jokes, but you could probably just make some shit up on the fly if you're really good at it as well, I'd imagine.
A lot of teachers become stand ups. Not a lot of teachers, but some stand ups were teachers because they've
They're
been in
used
front
to,
of people.
yeah.
So like
A
Greg
lot of
Davis,
people are absolutely 100% terrified in.
100%, man. Yeah.
Oh man, speaking for the crowds, terrifying. Come here to me, big lad. Come up here to me.
The thing is, though, with
Size of you,
talking
man.
for the crowds, like with whatever best man speeches, is that like nobody actually really cares that much.
No, you see, but people don't know that.
Yeah, but like, I mean, if you're sitting there looking at someone making a speech, you're just like, here's a best man speech. And it's not everyone's going to dismantle you publicly. Like, there's a weird egocentrism that comes with that anxiety. It's like, it's like everyone's looking at the emperor to see if he's going to point the thumb up or down,
Yeah, it's a weird one, but a crowd of people is kind of like a wild animal. It's not dissimilar to the process of horse riding or being a whale rider at SeaWorld.
If you find a crowd is difficult or not responsive, do you try and provoke them? Like I've seen comedians do that. Like if a crowd is like just not laughing or engaging, like it's too much work to try and get that out of them. So I've seen comedians just start picking on people in the audience, getting annoyed, and just provoking at least some reaction. That's probably not really your style, though, is it?
No, but I did that once on St. Patrick's Day. I was asked by a guy called Yemi, a comedian from Harlem, who was like, "Hey, Martin, you want to come down and do Paddy's Day here? It's going to be off the fucking hook, man."
In
I
New
was
York?
like, "Yeah, sounds great." No, it was in Stockholm.
Right.
And it was just basically the same boring people there, and the only difference in vibe and look and the vibe or the feeling on stage was that just the audience were wearing oversized Guinness top hats with like dour stone face. Do you ever see your man Steve Hughes, the stand-up comedian? Yeah. He talks. He's like, "Yeah, I was doing a fucking gig in Stockholm." He's like, that was a good gig, Steve. Maybe next year I might tell you my name. And you go to Ireland, it's like, where are you staying for the night? Oh, damn it. He was like, you fucking stay with us. And that's the thing, man. Imagine, like, I would be doing stand-up regularly, but not here in Stockholm, and I just can't be fucking arsed.
But what does stand up look like to you, though? I mean, do you
Stand-up is
improvise
just like,
live?
well,
Do you make stuff
I
up in
always think
advance?
like I would it's like if I'm doing like a cover gig or something, I
Yeah.
rarely have a set list. I just kind of it's the preparation I just find too fucking mind numbing, and it would save me a lot of
Mm.
hassle. But I kind of like the nervous energy that you have to ride as well.
Well, that's it.
Because
Billy Connolly started off as a comedian. He was doing songs and then
who?
talking. Billy Connolly, when he started off, he
Yeah,
started off doing songs and he was talking in between the
it's like
songs.
I gotta let this nutter out.
And
It's like Predator. You're blending up, blending in the background. Looks like Martin's. Looks like Martin's live at the Improv. Hey, what do you say? What do you see there? Texas
my
Pete. My grandma was a badass. Yamaha grand piano worth over 20K. Ooh.
that'll only go up in value, I'd say.
Oh, keep hold of that, Pete. Get your hands on that. Seen Steve Hughes last year, mental gig. Yeah, man. Steve Hughes he fucking gets the crack. 1 second. Yeah, come on.
Tell your grandma I'm coming over to record my next CD. You could do a lot worse than recording on a
Going back.
$20,000
The
Yamaha
fucking cat doesn't know what he wants half the time. Hey, cats, what are they
plastic
all
cat.
about? You
There's
know,
just a
they're all
tongue sticking
hairy,
out of bricks now.
climb up on the work surfaces, they bury their shit. What's that about? It's
I
like
remember
my ex-wife. Oh!
remember seeing Doug Stanhope talking about observational comedy. He's like, "There's no anger in it. It's just noticing things.
Yeah,
Like you
like
notice something, and then what do? You just notice it and move on."
yeah, but and I think it's like the common denominator really is especially with like Michael McIntyre and Stuart
Yeah.
Lee did a great joke about that. You know the bottom of a fish tank. You know the little bit. There's a little statue, isn't there? Little statue in the bottom of the fish tank of Napoleon. Little statue of Napoleon in the bottom of every fish tank. Did you ever notice that? Little statue. Yeah. Well,
And it
there's a
just keeps
phenomena.
going.
There's a name for that phenomenon. It's called McIntyre's speculum.
But like Michael McIntyre gets really hurt when comedians slag him off. So like Stuart Lee said that his Michael McIntyre stand up was like being spoon fed warm diarrhea, which was just completely perfect. But he knows what he's doing, but it
Mm.
makes so much money because I think people go to feel. I think it's a weird kind of community building. 80,000 people laughing at the same banalities of life. You don't want to be challenged. That's not what you're there for. So I guess it's just not for us. You
Mm.
know, like I think maybe well, I do. I don't know. I think you do kind of like to be challenged or provoked or something with comedy.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you do that observational stuff, it's basically you're appealing to the common ground. It's basically, yeah, I've got a mandrel, a selection of different like wires and chargers and miscellaneous electronical accessories.
Mm.
But like you say, where do you go from there? You just got to keep on building that. It's like, yeah, it's like, do you ever go? Do you ever notice when you do the dishes? At the end, like the sink is all blocked with bits of carrots. It's always carrots. If you know, it's like sick. Why is it there's always a carrot and you're sick? But you haven't eaten carrots for a week. Where did that come from? And yeah, you could probably get a good few laughs out of it from the general audience.
You can, but it's just hollow. Like he must come off stage and he's just covered in sweat and
What, like Lee
shame.
Evans?
Do you know what? Lee Evans? I was amazed by this. He's acted in Beckett plays, and apparently
I
he's
wouldn't be
really good.
surprised. I wouldn't
So
be
the guy is
surprised.
obviously talented, but it's
I think
just.
he, I think he took a lot of his act from Norman. I mean, if anything, he ripped off Norman Wisdom.
Yeah, did you watch him growing up?
I did when I was a kid. It'd be on Channel 4 and that kind of thing. And
It was still on
uh,
TV at that point. I mean, that's like from the 50s.
oh yeah, but like you'd see Norman Wisdom in films and that kind of thing. But I was on about Lee Evans. He was in Luc Besson's Fifth Element as some sort of like,
Was he?
yeah, he was like dressed in a sailor's outfit. Apparently, John Paul Gaultier had designed all the outfits for Fifth Element.
Do you know what? That actually makes sense because it's sort of trashy looking as a film. And I
Mm.
know that was kind of the aesthetic of the 90s. The 90s was kind of about trashiness. Like Damien Hirst, it was all about like just like basically like, shit. When my new painting, guts. It was kind of really in your face. Someone says here, I love McIntyre, but I also love Maloney. Neither are better than the other. Would you like to respond to that, Martin?
Well, I was going to show you this, right? Where basically, if I can just, it's unfortunate you can't hear the audio, but we'll address that next time we do it. But I just wanted to bring in our friend Danny again, just to explain what's going on here. So Danny is meeting these guys, and as he's chatting, I'll give you the it's a strong shirt you got on there, lovely. I just had my first crop circle, went up the hill, walked in it, had a bit of a moment for me. Didn't know how I felt about it before. And I've been spending time with people who believe, obviously, it's that mob up there. I was very impressed by how intricate they were, the designs. Very clever. You're going to tell me otherwise, aren't you? I mean, what do you believe these crop circles are about? I'm going to take that away. But I have to say, the soundtrack to that is just, it's so of its time. Like hard fight. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of late. Ruby, 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 Ruby.
I love when the singer from Kaiser Chiefs got really fat and the headline was, I predict a diet. Don't know where he's gone.
Sorry about that. I accidentally pressed back and went out of the studio. I was trying out the settings tab is down there. Let me see.
I was just saying that when the singer from Kaiser Chiefs got fat, the headline was, I predict a diet.
Oh man,
it's pretty good. Also, with Danny Dyer, you could have him stuffed in a Danny diorama.
Danny diorama. Look at this fucking creature. He's massive, man. Look at the dimensions on him. And he's like a dog. He's like good fucking solid work.
I just hear.
Listen. He sounds like a V8.
I just hear Stateside's voice coming out of him.
How to mate? I'm Stateside the cat. Look at that for a face, man. Look, like his shoulders are proper beefy. It's like two fucking apples shoved up his sleeve. Fucking class work.
What age is he?
He's 10.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a fine boy. He's very the legend.
Has he sired any
chunky? But his brother hasn't taken a shine to the new gaff and just insists on being out the whole time. So it's causing some beef with the bird.
You have a fan question here, Martin.
Oh, yeah?
Texas Pete says, I've always meant to ask you, Martin, in season 2, when French Toast and you and Buzz have some pints and Scorpion shows the video from his phone. What was the crack there? In other words, what was the video that he's showing?
The idea about that's a good question, Texas Pete, and I'll stick that up so we can address that. What was a good question here? Phil Mitchell, toe-to-toe, Danny Dyer, who would win?
Evolution.
Evolution. So I'm going to address this. See that shite in Qatar with no alcohol. If Ireland were in the World Cup, there would be a 1916 Rising Part 2 happening.
I don't think that would happen. I think people would just sit around and go, fuck's sake, and then go home.
Drinking, I was on the Barry's tea all fucking week.
Lads.
No, there's a cat. No, he's sound. Now, Texas Pete. So I've always meant to ask Martin, season 2, French Toast and you and Buzz having some pints, and Scorpio shows him the video from his phone. What was the crack there? So the crack was, it was intended to be like, you know the way in Pulp Fiction, you never know what's inside Marcellus Wallace's briefcase. It was just one of the...
Are we happy? Vincent, we happy?
We happy.
What? Oh, we happy.
Yeah, so it was like that. But I think it was basically... He was climbing Mount Doom in search of the big fun. He'd tackled a morbidly obese woman in a laneway, and it was basically saying that he had thrown morality, caution, and inhibition to the wind entirely. And not only were they down an alleyway, they were doing all mad, fully naked positions in an alleyway. So they had no regard for comfort or anything. A MacGuffin, as Stay Green Pony Boy would say. That's very, very true, very true.
It's great that you never actually said
Arizona boys.
you've never really talked about the episode. I think it was the unfilmed one where you and Buzz kiss for just 15 minutes in black and white.
Oh yeah, and it's in slow motion, and there's like Lisa Stansfield, been around the world tonight, yeah. I can't find my baby.
I thought that was moving when you sent me the rushes. You know, like there was just this sense of like
It was just when me and Buzz double teamed your man Sean's ma while watching Deep Space Nine.
there was like just the amount of times I've heard about people getting burgled, and someone
Someone wants
said,
to go out. They're fucking users, man. They just come in for the food and fuck off on their own accord. Get down off there, you bollocks. You know, I'm gonna kick these lads out again. 1 second. James, come on, out. Come on, lads. Out. See, the other one's going to be trying. He's just sitting there by the door, so he could go either way.
The amount of times that I've heard when someone's
Hasselhoff never had to endure such hassle.
The amount of times I've heard when someone's burgled, the amount of times I've heard people say, "Well, he's had his back door broken in." Like, could you not think of something a bit more dignified to say?
Who are they on about? George Takei?
No, just anyone who's burgled. It's always like, yeah, they broke down the back door. You know, I don't know why. I just keep hearing that recently. I was a few months ago. We got engaged, so we got the ring, and you know, like these, you know, like in the village, you know, like old ladies kind of stop my, you know, fiance now and say, oh, you know, it's like, can I have a look at your ring? And that's obviously kind of funny in itself. So I kind of try not to smirk, and this woman in her 80s said, "Now, can I give you a bit of advice?" And she was like, yeah, sure. And she said, "I think, and especially at my age, I think it's important to go back now every 5 years and get your ring tightened."
It's just that's outrageous.
Like, has someone? Is this a plant? You know, she's talking about like cleaning and tightening your ring, and I was like, "Geez, you're fairly open for a woman of your age." Pardon the expression.
David, shall we cruise Twitter and see what's going on? Ooh, Sam Hellcat's in heat. You want to see some of the let's just see what's going on my timeline. Klaus Schwab. Let's have a look here. See, I mean, I don't know if anyone else's Twitter comes up, but trends for you. So I was like, fuck me, man, it's trending on Twitter, and it's all stuff. Alex Jones, Covidians, Trump, Elon, Qatar. Should we check out Qatar, David, and see what's been said about the experience on the ground from Qatar?
To be honest, I didn't even know there was a World Cup on until yesterday, so this will all be new
Really?
to me. Yeah.
Okay, so here is this is a rather shall we say it, a satirical approach to what's going on.
Taking a sideways look.
Taking a sideways look is right. So these are obviously the Bangladeshi, presumably Bangladeshi, Indian, Cambodian workers that have been used in the slave labor of building stadiums. And this man here represents FIFA, right? And this guy, he's like, "Oi, governor, yeah, you lads, give us a few quid, yeah? Sand." And they're going, "Oh, Samana Mamanu, Suwa, whoa, Papa, Sisi, Papa. Yes, good. Dead. God bless them. What to say here? Jeez. Yeah, sometimes it's not all fun and games. Ecuador players after losing the World Cup opening match 5-0 versus Qatar. Fucking hell, man. What kind of... Oh, there he is, the man himself, Deep Space Nine. Let's have a look at his I loves me country. You got to see some of his. We'll actually have a look at some of his tweets just to show you what I'm talking about, man. Like, winner pick tomorrow, late late show. Win 2 golden tickets to the toy show audience. See, this is the mindset of this lad, that it's a very important event, that someone wins 2 golden tickets to see Ryan Tubridy dressing a jumper like that while condescending children and possibly doing massive rails behind the scenes. All I'm saying is Patsy Clines and
It's at the Morrison Hotel, though. So
oh, is it? Yeah. Oh, the
yeah, so
fucking
there you go.
blue
There's a
velvet.
question here, Martin, that I don't think you've ever actually addressed. Someone asked, is there some beef with you and the Viper? I think I could explain this. Basically, Martin and the Viper have the same dad, who is the king of a place called Gondor. And it turned out that there was some dispute between who was going to inherit the kingdom. And the dad sort of, there's some problems to do with that dispute about that ownership. And Martin died in the process.
And I was reanimated as this recent deceased cross between Ron Perlman and Kevin Bacon.
I love the arrangement of that head.
Oh, man, this lad, the arrangement of that head, this lad, but he's definitely Irish, man. Look, Kevin Conroy, Amen Conroy, God rest him. Look at this. Okay, funny how it's okay for cyclists to break lights when it suits some drivers. I don't understand. Is he on this? So I think he must be a bit of a cyclist, but some of his. I'm just trying to get tweets and replies. That this is where you'll get. This is where you'll just get. He's got a big penchant for Starfleet.
Oh, he's got a big penchant. Oh, pardon.
Oh. Oh, tweets and replies. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Seems to me Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael are using this list to try and get brownie points from the electorate. If you were a politician, would you not be proud of being banned from Russia?
This wading
Stop your
into things, I
anti-car
just don't
speak.
get it.
Why? I think he's a bit of he's like kind of a bit of a stateside character. Jesus, the car bashing keeps going, and I think he's got people he just go back to and just send, just Jesus, the car bashing keeps going on, and you do anything for a vote. Are you or do you identify as a car? If not, why does this offend you?
How do people have time for this?
I don't know. It just seems
Like, I have no idea how people expend this much energy with people, if they met in the street, would be really polite to them.
But that's a very good point, actually. That's a very good point indeed, because this, like, man, y'all, I follow this one because there's some great comments. So basically, I think she's got an OnlyFans account, right? And so some of this, whatever this means, like, there's always a lot of very good memes to this. Oh. What else have we got here? Ewan, a former guest on the show, and a fair play to him. He is a contrarian. Look at this, like, remove the discriminatory McCarthyist labels on Chinese accounts. Shame on you if you don't. Sorry, I'm just getting stuck into a Twitter hole, so I will go back to this. Remove that. Yeah. Where were we? Ellen DeGeneres, not a very nice person, apparently.
No, and do you know what really annoys me as well? Poverty. I hate it. Do you know?
I can't stand it.
I
poor. He never liked them too, did he, Ted?
Oh, down with this sort of thing.
Careful now. Irish Reddit subreddit.
I have no personality. I have no
Oh man.
opinions or thoughts.
Did you see this shite of all these fucking soft pricks? Like, it pains me to say, right, that there's a certain class of people in Ireland that just they'll fucking swallow any shite the TV tells them, and then there's a kind of like the back tappery of, "Ah, we're all fucking class, Mammy's dress, fucking
It's
Kimberly biscuits." You know, there's this like cloying, maudling sentimentality
I'm
and
part of the
nostalgia
club.
for mediocrity. You know what I mean? But I can understand how William Butler Yeats wrote that poem where he was like, "And the witty man, and fuck the power craven man, you know, in his chair, or the greasy shop, or the
What need
shopkeeper."
you being come to sense, but adding half pence to the pence and prayer to shivering prayer. He hated the Catholic middle class. He thought they had no imagination. They were easily influenced, and they just loved a bit of comfort. That's what they liked. And I just think like,
Well, and
oh,
these are the same people who have now basically, you know, because it's trendy to ditch Catholicism now, and like, I'm not saying for or against, but what I'm saying is it's this kind of like, we're atheists now, you know what I mean? Or like, I'm agnostic, but they, you know, it's all the basically neoliberal, well-to-do civil servants, journalists, and luminaries from the Irish media scene who basically, I'm going to, Michael D. Higgins has gone to Mastodon.
well, you know, like I think that there are people out there who are trying to do good things in the world, and fair play to them. But the thing is that companies have cottoned on to the fact that if you pretend like you're doing those things, you know, it makes you look good.
Mm.
But they have no intention to do it at all. Like, how can you, in one sense, claim to be like, you know, pro diversity and all that sort of stuff, the stuff that's good, but yet do your utmost not to pay taxes? I can't remember who it was who said it, that the most ethical thing you can do as a business is pay your fucking taxes, and yet they don't do it.
I mean, like, can you blame them? Where's the money going? You know, we're like taxes are fleecing us, man. Like, and over here, like, say if you invoice for like 500 quid,
Mm-hmm.
um, you will get less than half of that after taxes,
And
unless you
that's the
can
standard
somehow
rate.
write off the expenses as well and get that deducted to a certain extent. But like, I was talking to a friend of mine who was looking at buying an excavator and taking the machine and renting out his services with the use of the machine, and he was just
Probably
saying
not
that
worth it, is it?
he said after tax, after he brings the machine on site himself, he services it himself, diesel, and all the other overheads. He said like he comes out with, like, I saw something earlier on today where they were basically saying that a guy, let's say in England, got 140 quid for the day, has to drive his own car to work. He gets taxed half of that. Has to pay VAT,
Mm.
and then it's just the tax that was added onto everything. And they said even if you want to get a fucking drop of whiskey to mellow out in the end of the evening,
Yeah.
that's taxed at 70%. It's just like they're fucking fleecing us, man. And it's like, you know, we're basically just we're peasants that live in central heated homes. Like there's no, like, there's basically the you know, it's like, yes, to many, we were living through very good times, and there are people who said, oh, but like
Mm.
if you compare this to medieval times, it's, you know, massive.
Mm.
But it's basically in relation to
Mm-hmm.
the opulence and the wealth of these fucking so-called elites,
Mm.
and that gulf is just getting wider and wider. And it's like I've seen Alessandro called
Ocasio
for
Cortez.
AOC,
Yeah.
Ocasio Zeta Jones, and yeah, I fucking forgot how to pronounce it. Sorry. Yeah, she was saying this is why you tax the rich. It's like, hang on a minute, you voted to send weapons, like non-stop weapons, to prolong a war that
Mm.
was started by your mob over there, really, and like that fucking the likes of Sean, they shouldn't have invaded. But like, it's just like it's not that fucking simple, man. It's like it's been going on for years, and there has been ethnic cleansing of those Russian separatists. And look, it's basically they're both fucking dodgy sides, and I hate to see people being killed in conflict, especially conflict that's been engineered from dodgy bastards. And
But the thing with taxes is that, like, if you want to know where the money's going, there's a really weird contradiction, which is that bureaucracies are made up of. So, for example, in the Russian sort of, like, turn of the century, when they reestablished communism, the idea was absolutely everybody had to have a job, even though you didn't have anything to do. They would just make up jobs for people. So that meant everyone had to get paid, which meant that everyone had to be taxed. So a lot of what you pay in tax goes to pay civil servants, many of whom will nearly openly tell you that they don't do anything during the day, because we have this idea that you have to work to be paid. It's part of the Puritan idea of the Protestant work ethic. So what we're doing is people are working to pay the salaries of civil servants who aren't.
Sweden's terrible for it, man. Like, there's
But it
so
makes no
many
sense. It's the illusion
bureaucratic
of work.
organizations. So, like Twitter was like that as well. I mean, I saw a video of a woman whose day in Twitter was basically, so I go into Twitter and I have some breakfast, and pancakes, crispy bacon, and maple syrup. And then she goes for coffee. Then it's like, this is a pretty
Mm,
cool room for meditation. You got games room, you got yoga room if you're into that. Then later on, she has lunch. Then she goes and has one meeting to discuss work. Then goes up on top of a roof garden and enjoys some wine on tap. And it's like, I mean,
mm.
I don't think Twitter actually made a profit. I think it's it's very good for breaking news because it comes directly from someone who's uploaded it. Let's say,
Mm,
like the time when there was the siege of Lidl in Jobestown. I
yeah,
was watching that
yeah.
live, that kind of thing. But and it obviously and it is funny as well. But I think a lot of the information that was in there was being curated, and obviously, look, whether you fucking agree with the flim flam man that is Trump, whether you agree with him or not, whether you love him or loathe him, whether you're indifferent to him, you can't just uh, you know you can't just take a fucking head of state off a a publicly used, like, and this is where basically the people who are giving out about Musk buying it are the same people who are saying, like, it's a private company. It's like, well, now he owns this private company, and what I'm saying is basically, um, you can't just fucking take a head of state off a platform because you disagree with them. You know what I mean? It's
I
just
suppose
fucking.
the
One
thing
sec.
is that it is exactly. Oh, gone again.
You going out now?
I'm gonna go through some of the comments here. Fucking prods. I knew it. I wish the young people knew they were not that interesting. Yeah,
I've just come to the
it's
stage
pretty
where I just
frustrating.
like lift them up to either bring them in or put them out now because there's an awful lot of pissing about done by the door.
Talking about the
Uh,
kids or the cats. But but I think, like, there is this weird obsession that we have with work. Like, in other words, you can't be doing nothing, because why would you do that? So, like, remember, like, they had the famine relief schemes. Like, the idea was you worked rather than just being fed by the British government, because you couldn't get something for nothing.
yeah,
It
it was
doesn't
just
really
I mean,
make a lot of
it's like
sense.
even the most menial jobs at least give people a reason to get up and do something. And I think this was a dangerous thing about automation and
Mm,
the likes of that fucking Yuri Havari or whatever the fuck his name is. We just need to give people video games and drugs until we find something we can do with them. And he's
mm,
a fucking despicable piece of shit, that lad.
never heard of him.
Because he's the guy who wrote Homo Sapiens, and he's number one. He's like number one thought like think tank of Klaus Schwab.
Mm,
So like like they consider us, like, I mean, they consider themselves as being like the stewards of the earth, right? And it's not for benevolent reasons. It's just because they're so fucking wealthy that they just decide to like look down over everybody and just be like, yeah, get rid of them. And like, it's I mean, when you think about a lot of these people, like if you look at Klaus Schwab's his academic achievements, I mean, it's insane the amount of different degrees the man has, you know, and so for all intents and purposes, he is like a Bond villain. So if you're that logically smart to the extent that he is, then you're going to be looking at people who, you know, are attending the audience of X Factor or Britain's Got Talent and just, you know, view these people as being profane.
But the
But
Bond
it's not
villain
their
though.
place to.
No, just the Bond villain, like kind of, you know, Ian Fleming predicted the Bond villain because, you know, it was somebody. Usually, the Bond villain was someone who became rich through private enterprise. So through the process of neoliberalism, became super wealthy, and then gained more share of natural resources and was about to weaponize them. So he did predict that. The thing about Twitter is that like Trump being removed from it, it's actually a statement of capitalism because capitalism relies on consumer choice. So what people object to, it's effectively like comment culture. So if enough people say we don't want this, Twitter will remove it because it makes the service less desirable. That's really all
Well,
it is, I
well,
think.
I think with they just want him talking. Do you know what I mean? They just want because they didn't want him like to have that access to not only his base but like other people that might come across things he said that might swing things in his favor. And this is what I went back to earlier on, that apparently Twitter never made any profits. It was always in the red, and that's why
Really?
Musk has come on. Yeah, so it was definitely I've got people who are I don't even follow constantly, like Rob Rayner, for example, or Bill Crystal, fucking neocons and warhawks who are just constantly beating the drums of war. And you know, the algorithms are gained to heavily promote, like it's like before the midterms, it's like Brooklyn Dad defiant, all these people like, I'm leaving Twitter, you know.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
suppose like America is the crucible of all that stuff because, you know,
Jimmy White.
they pretty much invent. Took me a second there. They pretty much invented consumer capitalism, which was the idea was to supply as much demand as possible, and then when there's no demand anymore, make some more demand, and that's how you make money. So that's kind of where it came from, really. That's why America's been so influential because those ideas are partially responsible for the development of the Western world, but they've come at a real price as
Mm.
well, which is that, like, you
Well, I
know,
mean, if you look at basically our privacy, I mean, like I'm having often on this channel very open discussions that someone a bit more savvy would have in private. But for me, I've always been that person who just fucking says what I think.
mm,
And fuck, I've gone off on a bit of a tangente. What was I going to say before that? I was just about to say.
we're just talking about how like, you know, Trump's being taken off.
No, it was after
Twitter.
that. There's a good.
I don't remember. Anyone in the comments?
Oh yeah, FTX, all that shit with man,
FTX.
Sam Bankman. Apparently, there's some weird shit going on there, and apparently, there's been a circle basically. So FTX was one of the biggest crypto exchanges. More, I think, it's bigger than Coinbase.
Okay.
So basically, your man Sam Bankman was taking
His name's actually
donations.
Bankman. That's funny.
Bankman fried, so he's a baked banker. So he basically had taken money from every, like, basically, you know the way if there's run on the bank, and the way modern day banking works
That was in
is
Mary Poppins. Remember that?
no.
There's a scene with a run on a bank in Mary Poppins. It's this
What was that?
weird scene no one remembers where everyone runs in and takes their money out of the bank. Yeah, it's a weird thing in that film. But anyway, go on.
It's been years since I've seen it. But the moral of the story is when I think one of the biggest investors in FTX pulled the plug. So during the week, Bitcoin lost quite a large amount of value. So when it started crashing, people trying to pull their money out of the FTX, but it had all been sent somewhere else. So when they went to try and take the money out, the whole thing crashed because all their money was gone. And they reckon there is like at least 50 billion worth of people's personal assets that are now gone. So here's where the plot thickens. So that basically was being sent to Ukraine as part of the war effort. So then Zelensky was then funding that back in through to the Democrat Party in donations. So the whole thing was a
How
big
is
money
this?
laundering operation.
How, like, was it an intentional one or one that
Oh
was
yeah,
incidental?
absolutely.
So was everybody aware that it was happening? Or was it one of those things like indirectly it turned out that it went that way in some way?
No, no one was aware of it, and the thing is, like, the guy Bankman was saying, I was like, meet Sam Bankman. He's a vegan and the most charitable philanthropist there is out there. And he's like, I just want to give all my money to good causes. And yeah, it's just a fucking charlatan, basically.
But people have never been able to resist profiting from not just war but anything bad, you know. Like if you think about it, when Jesus was crucified, people took souvenirs of the cross, you know, like as an
I wouldn't be
investment
surprised.
piece. No, they did, yeah. And so people took bits, and there's all sorts of different things, like even relics, like saints are chopped up. Um, you know, like it just seems that people cannot resist profiting and therefore making it worse. Therefore finding those
Also,
friends.
on the like that FTX guy is creepy. Donates too much to charity, suspiciously, like Jimmy Savile and Bill Gates. It's like Jeff Bezos says, basically, oh, I'm going to give all my money to charity. It's not charity. It's basically future markets that he sets up, and because it's
Yeah, I didn't
charity,
cop
it's
that before.
non-taxable.
Yeah, I didn't cop that before. I thought that when they gave their money away, it was like a gift, but
Yeah, but you see, that this is the thing. I fell for all that shit in my younger, naive days. I was like, wow,
mm,
Bill Gates, man, he just came out of nowhere and just was this really intelligent kid who started selling fucking bubblegum machines and then became a millionaire. And then had like there was an Indian woman talking on Democracy Now, explaining about what he was doing. That he
mm,
didn't develop any of the software, he didn't develop any of
no,
the operating systems. Other people did it,
no.
and then he ripped them all off.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I think the reason that you're
Huh.
sold that version is because they want people to emulate that. So you're told that as a kid, like, look at what's possible. This is what
Yeah,
you can do. But of course, it's kind of not. And you realize the
yeah.
higher up you
And,
go,
and
the
there were
more the
puff pieces as
shithead.
well, David. There were puff pieces that he was writing in. He was paying news outlets to write favorable things about him to make him seem like he was a great guy. And I remember
Yeah.
reading that when I was probably, I don't know, about 18. I was like, fuck, he's giving all his money away to charity.
Mm,
Wow. He hasn't given fuck all away. Like it's like that. If you look at that MSNBC business interview they did outside in
mm,
Davos, and she's saying, how much did you make off the vaccines? And he was like, well, 20 to 1. So that was 20. So that was a 20 billion investment. So you made 200 billion. It's quite the return on investment. He said, well, you know, our philanthropic organization prides itself on being able to give life along, goes into a spiel about how bloody great he is. He
mm.
was on Epstein's plane dozens of times, man. Interesting one that CM Fox wrote there. Funny, they were one of the biggest Dem donors, and they only leaked the collapse after the midterms. Do you know who the first one is? George Soros. And like, you know, there's so many dense cunts on the Irish Twitter, and also a lot of paid operatives who were like attached to NGOs and that kind of thing. That like their job is just to fucking attack anybody who tries to fucking shed light on the rampant global corruption.
Mm,
And I find it odd. Like China's a bit of a fucking wild card in all of this because Soros really hates China.
mm,
But he was the guy who I think was 92 crashed the English
yeah.
pound and the Thai baht in 95. Like the man makes money off misery and then makes out that he's a philanthropist. But you know, the guys are wronging. You know,
But
he's he
people have
wouldn't
always
fucking lay
made,
straight at the bed, the cunt.
but I mean, people have always made money off miserable things. Like, for example, like during recessions, like the repossession businesses that goes through the roof. During times of a lot of crime, bail bondsmen make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like in wars, people who make coffins make a shitload of money. It just seems that people have always kind of relished that. But then we're also obsessed with what we call progress or growth. But I think I was reading uh, George Monbiot in the Guardian, and he was saying that like he was diagnosed with cancer of some kind a few years ago, and he said that if it's left unchecked, it just grows and it eats everything, destroys everything behind it. And he said that's effectively what capitalism is. It entitles you to a share of the world's natural resources. You can do it as you see fit, and that leads to progress and expansion. But also, well,
Well, in many ways, it's a bit like the Ring of Power and Lord of the Rings. So we
oh,
can,
I
but
think
this is a
that's.
gift.
But that's really
But
interesting.
I think the Ring of Power is power itself. I think because I was
Oh,
watching
totally.
recently, and I was like, it's the Ring of Power, and it's the power craving man in his seat, as Yeats would say. You
It's
know,
also a MacGuffin in a way. It's
mm,
just the thing everyone wants.
mm.
But what's interesting as well is that who are the guys, they're kind of monsters. They've got
Oh, the ring
swords.
raves. They
No,
were
the soldiers,
the
the
orcs,
other one. Yeah, yeah,
Urukai.
yeah, yeah. But they have a forge, don't they, where they make swords.
Yeah.
So it's like there's an industrial revolution going on. They're actually
Well,
manufacturing at the same time, and
well
they're
that
growing their empire.
well that's what Tolkien was referring to. That the
The industrial
how the
revolution.
shires and the rolling hills of old England was then replaced with unscrupulous Victorian working mills and child labor, and um, that it was just the industrialization of and the ruination of the Shire, basically, which was probably the
Mm.
places where he would have hung about.
And then yet
Oh, jumpers for goalposts.
there's a weird tension there though, because like the Shire is this place where everyone's sort of a child, right? That's where the hobbits are, right? Is that where they live?
Yeah, in the Shire,
The
yeah.
little place? Yeah, it seems like a kind of a sort of a Tir na Nog or something, it's where nothing bad happens. So I think it's about that clash of cultures, maybe like the idea of the romantic idea of Britain versus like kind of London,
Mm.
the smog and everything like that.
But
Um,
it was also mining town, or like not mining towns, but like mill towns and you
mm,
know textile industries. But it was just looking at the non-stop uh, bellowing of smoke and
mm.
machines and whatnot.
But
I
is
mean,
it
to be
isn't it?
fair, like
Yeah,
there is, like technology is in the hands of the capitalist SARS, but there's a weird thing where they're utilizing a new form of communism in a weird way. So they like I
yeah,
remember reading years ago, it was like they've made two strange bedfellows, and it took me a long time to figure out what they actually meant. So it's basically
mm,
for them at the top, it's basically corporate socialism for those like the ones who are cashing in on it,
mm,
or it's like corporate welfare for them.
mm.
But the more, I mean, what do they fucking need all this for? Like, you know what I mean? You can imagine like Bezos, Musk, Gates, and all these lads are like, oh, he's got a mega yacht. I've got to build myself a city on a yacht.
But like in,
You can only take a
yeah,
shit in one bathroom at a time. Like,
but like even in Lord of the Rings, like is the Christopher Lee's character name escapes me. Um, the the not Gandalf, the other one.
hmm?
The one Christopher Lee's character in Lord of the Rings.
Christopher Lee,
Yeah,
Sauron.
yeah, okay. There's that scene where he looks down. I think someone says you'll need thousands of soldiers, and he says tens of thousands. And he looks down and he sees all those people together. They're all his employees. They're there to help him achieve growth, a bigger share of the natural resources. So it kind of predicts corporatism
Mm. Well,
in
that's
in
what it
in,
is. It's
in some
corporatism.
way.
See,
Yeah.
I was thinking earlier on when we were talking about capitalism, and let's say if you look at McDonald's, the restaurant started off as one restaurant, popular product, then another restaurant, then another one. Then eventually, when it turns, it's when these things there's a phase where they turn from a family owned business that's doing very well
The
to
founder did that.
becoming yeah.
Yeah, you'd like that film actually.
But that's the beginning of it, and then what happens is when it becomes big enough and it becomes a public company, then then you have what you have with like State Street, Vanguard, and BlackRock, and these holding companies that they have a percentage of even rival companies, so they
But that's all
control.
made possible, yeah, exactly by mechanization.
Mm,
Like, so for example, the first thing of that was when the printing press was discovered. It's like, great, we can publish information and give people copies of the Bible in English. But the church was like, hang on, we can print loads of sale of indulgences, vouchers for this. So they used that to mass produce them. Like, mass
mm.
production is the way you achieve market share and then invest back in growth. Like, it's quite sinister.
But I think it just becomes like an element after a while. It's like I think there comes a stage where once the wheels of progress are kind of at full speed, it's harder for something to lose money than it is to make money at that stage.
It is, but like there must be it must be like, do you know, it must be like at some point, when you're playing a computer game or something. Last one I played was Sonic in the 90s, and you put all the cheats in and you're invulnerable, and it's
Mm.
just not fun because there's no challenge. It must just be like you're like Jabba the Hutt, just being drip fed food. Like, it must be actually really depressing.
Yeah, I always think about it as like after a certain point in Gran Turismo 2 when you won the TVR Tuscan Speed 12 and you just like you could do that one race where it take you 5 minutes to do, and then you could sell it and you get 500,000, and then you've just
Yeah.
basically bought every car going, and then there's a bit like you kind of miss that grind,
Mm.
and it's like you can imagine, like we were saying earlier on, is like you can imagine they were probably quite precocious teenagers because they would have been sent to the finest of finishing schools, and they would have been,
Yeah.
you know, there would have been in their early years a kind of a blend where they were still young and innocent and
Mm.
discovering the world around them. So they would have been, maybe I've met like people like kids over the years who like you can tell they go to like like a high up boarding school, and they have a different way of they're a more often a more mature way of interacting with people around them.
Would you call
That
it that?
well, no, it's just the way
Would
they've
you call it
been
mature, or
not mature. It's more it's
insincere?
well, I don't know. It's more kind of um, more refined, but it's from the world that they inhabit. It's like
Mm.
it's there's a certain type of professional behavior that is that's displayed
Well, that's
to
what English
those.
public schools were there to do, is to
Mm,
train you for public life. Yeah. So I
yeah,
guess that makes sense. But it's creepy. It's kind of venomous or predatory. It's like you're sizing everyone up to see like who's going to be your ally here. It's a little bit, I don't know, it's kind of sinister to me. But also, like, the things that they do, like they train them in chess, games that you kind of
yeah,
win
yeah,
at. Like, you know like it's kind of the idea that, like, your job is to get out there and conquer the universe. Actually, it reminds me a little bit of, you do a really good Daniel Day-Lewis in, is it
I heard you
Gangster?
name the ground. What you Giuseppe named the ground? The pest on it. Pest on it. Giuseppe's dead,
That's not the
man.
one I was thinking of. There Will Be Blood.
Oh, drainage. You have your milkshake. I have mine. Drainage.
Yeah, but that's basically it. That's
He
the
was probably
whole
he was probably
thing.
based on the Rockefellers,
Yeah,
Standard
definitely.
Oil. The
Um,
Rockefellers, man, they are one sinister fucking bunch. Like the thing that woke me up years ago was Aaron Russo. He used to be the governor of Nevada, and he's talking. He's like, this one time, I became friends with. Can't remember which one of the Rockefellers it was. When we
Rockefeller
had
Skank.
Rockefeller skank, yeah, and he was like, we were having dinner one night, and I became very friendly with these guys, and he was saying, he said, "Why do you think we gave women the vote?" He's like, "Well, it's the right thing, equality." And he's like, "No, that's not why we did it. We take the kids off and we put them into school, get both parents working. We could text both parents, and then when they're at school, we teach them what we want to teach them. And then it goes further. He goes, they wanted to have everything's a chip. You don't comply with the rules, you turn off the chip. And we're moving so fucking close to that. But what he said, he goes, Aaron, why do you care about these people? Why do you care about them? He's like, just look after yourself and your own family. And that was it, man. That's and that in itself that's how they think of it. It's like, why do you give a fuck about these people?
I think that's probably the case, certainly for high power people. But I think the thing about women getting the vote, I think that had some unintended consequences. So, for example, they got the vote, they got a right to the say and everything, and they won the right to work. But what happens then is that, like, some families therefore have two incomes. And that means that they do better, and therefore, so I'm not sure how necessarily intentional it was.
Well, I mean, it's basically it depends on the education you get. It really does. I mean, like, there's so much fucking nonsense that you're taught in school. But like
primary school in particular, because they have to get you young at that point. Because otherwise, if you discover it later, it wouldn't make sense to you anymore.
What is it that the Jesuits schools say? Give me a boy,
give us the boy, I'll give you the man.
Yeah.
Or give me the boy and I'll take the boy, and you'll live. And that'll be it.
Peter Sutherland was a Jesuit, and he was Goldman Sachs, and and Gay Byrne, when he was the meaning of life, and so Peter, if you meet Saint Peter at the gates of heaven, what do you think he would say to you? I remember meeting him once, and he was with the wife, and I said, "Oh, I'm Brendan Gleeson's son." Wow, are you one of the Gleesons? Nah, I'm Mark Maloney from Swinford. But disappointment in him was crushing.
For I nearly made a contact there for my Masonic Lodge meetings where we eat swans' arseholes.
We usually make sure that the tradespeople and servants coming through the side door don't want to be seen fraternizing with them.
We prepare the pheasants in the same way that we prepare the virgins for the sacrifice. We put a big wicker man in the shape of Twink, and we burn it on Sandymount Strand, and then we all, just go home really depressed with each other's wives.
And we have a nice cup of Horlicks.
And then I play my favorite jazz records that I don't think even exist. Oh, I forgot them. I'll just hum them into the microphone like this. Like, how he managed to occupy such a place in Irish culture is just totally beyond me.
Actually, me and Rod were watching the Oasis, because I remember my mum talking about because Oasis for us, like, they felt like cool cousins that we didn't know.
Well, in the sense that they both had that mix of identities that you have.
Yeah, they have the mix of identities, and like their mother comes from like not even the next town. And I remember like my mother and their mother, or my grandmother and their grandmother, were in the hospital bed next to each other in '97. So like,
wow,
they even had the grandmother's funeral was in Swinford. Like,
wow.
So and then Bonehead was in Swinford. I think like Bonehead's dad came to my mum's place to do a sewing job. It's like there's so many like.
Seems to be weird kinship there, but also probably as people, you were probably both rambunctious young men.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, they were very similar. I mean, when I was talking to Paul, it's like same. I mean, when I watched Supersonic and I was looking at the house they lived in, Burnage, and Noel I think he's on tour with Inspiral Carpets, and then the mother just reminds me of my mum, and you got Paul there as well. It's like, how are you, Noel? Yeah, just doing Liam's dirty laundry, and I just found that really. It's very, very similar. Like, and I say this to Paul as well.
Well, I mean, but also you both kind of, I think, have that kind of punk energy as well, of like a hatred of pomposity, and I think it means this constant piss taking culture as well.
Like what I love about Liam, right, is he like. I think myself and Liam Gallagher have very similar personalities. We wear the heart on the sleeve, and we're not afraid to get into trouble and but we're sound lads. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And like even when he was doing a gig, I don't know if it was in the 90s. He was, I think it was like a big gig, might have been in Chicago. Big shout out to Sean. But he's singing Champagne Supernova. He goes, "Someday you will find me caught beneath a landslide in a champagne supernova up your bum."
That was at Nebworth, yeah, and he was deliberately trying to fuck up the gig. There's a great story actually about Liam that Noel
Was it
told.
Nebworth? Was it?
Nebworth, yeah, or maybe no, it was Wembley, the second night of Wembley where he came on still pissed. But there's a great story that Noel told about Liam that in 1995 they were on Top of the Pops and they were doing Roll With It, I think, at the time, and John Bon Jovi was there as well doing the same night, right? Did you hear about this? No.
Yeah, go on, tell us. I've heard it before. It's
So-
fucking brilliant, man.
So basically, like Oasis sitting there with like two ghetto blasters, like just fag smoke everywhere, like drinking like tenants
Fucking
and stuff.
Man City training
Man,
jackets.
just everywhere, right? Just like four man clads and hangers on, just sitting there, right? And you know there's a knock on the door, and in walks John Bon Jovi, right, with the bleach blonde hair, the perfectly white teeth, and he goes, "Hey guys," and they all just go like, "All right," and barely acknowledge him. And he takes out a copy of Rolling Stone, and he's like, "Do you guys know that you're on the cover of Rolling Stone?" Yeah, great. And they just sort of look at him for a second, and there's an awkward silence, and he just goes, "Well, I guess when you get to the States, you can tell them that John Bon Jovi gave you your first copy of Rolling Stone." And they just looked at him, and he left. And Liam turned to Noel and went, "Who was that then?"
Is that the same time when he's like, walked in there, fucking Boyzone were like doing their steps, like, "You're not in time, you're not in time."
His accent is incredible.
Yeah.
Like it's really, really good. Like it's. I think they get it from the dad. Noah was saying in an interview a while ago that he said his dad, who's obviously a shithead, but he said he was funny as well. So like there was one time they were stuck in traffic and he got really annoyed, and there was a Ford Sierra like next to them in traffic, and he just turned and shouted at the guy, "You Sierra face bastard!"
I have to say, man, Paul is one funny fucker. Like he really just, because like, he was the first one of obviously the siblings,
Mm.
and I think himself and Liam are very tight. But like I can understand, like, if you had him as your older brother, he just doesn't give a shit what he says, and it's very refreshing. At the time we were backstage, we were hanging out, and he was there was some dreadlock fellow who had like a tattoo of like a crescent on his face, and he had like tats on his face, and he looked like an odd dude. He was just hanging on, and I went, "Who's that, Paul?" And he went, "Don't know, some mad fucker on acid."
That's like Liam said. Do you remember he had that?
He's a panhead who needs stabbing. Not that journalist.
Funny thing, but he said as well that like it was. Remember they had that. Do you remember Star Sailor?
Don't you know you got your daddy's eyes? Daddy was an alcoholic.
Fucking absolute wank. But
They were
anyway,
boring, man.
apparently Noah was doing an interview, and your man James from Star Sailor come up and interrupted it, and Liam was like, and I walked up to him and I said, "If you have a fucking interrupt Ames interview again, you're going home in an ambulance, and you lucky I'm on stage in 5 minutes time. Otherwise, I'd be chasing you around here like some fucking mad wolf."
But you know what? Like when I met Liam in London a couple of years ago, I was like, "Is it all like, you know, playing up for the cameras?"
No, it's him.
And I was like, "Nah, he's the real deal." What fucker said that, man? Who said that? What? Who? Where is he?
I think.
And he goes to me. He was outside. He goes, "Yeah, fucking, I was in Holland. Yeah, talk to these fucking Scousers playing pool. This big Hells Angel called Norman's in there, and they're fucking kicking off. And he fucking batters a lot of them. And he turns to me and went, 'How you doing, Norman?'"
But I don't see, the thing is, I don't think Liam knows he's being funny.
Well, he's of the Danny Dyer vibe. Do you know what I mean? He's like,
I don't know that.
no. What I mean is, he's
yeah.
like, he's adored for his for being straightforward, and you know, wears his heart on the sleeve, and for all the fucking mad stuff he's done in life, just owned it, man. It's like, and that's a nice thing. It's like, you know, you've got someone like Liam Gallagher or myself or you know, Danny Dyer, for example. You'd rather someone run in the country who was like us and just fucking honest, but you wouldn't stand a chance. You'd be fucking the media be on you the whole time, man. But like, but the thing is, at least you're gonna get someone who's just gonna tell you fucking straight.
I read a great article during the week on Wikipedia about this guy, this Prime Minister of Australia called Harold Holt. His name Harold Holt, and he was Prime Minister of Australia from 1957 to.
Was he Triple H's younger brother?
he was Jericho's cousin on his mother's side, and so
Walls of Jericho.
It's really fucking anyway. But anyway, so he was president or Prime Minister of Australia in 1957, and then one day he went out for a swim. So he took his Secret Service guys and he went out for a swim, and just never came back.
What?
And he never came back. This guy Harold Holt.
Ever?
So he just never. People don't know what happened to him. They have no idea what happened to him.
By a bloody shark.
And a police inspector got in trouble for announcing that unfortunately our investigation has come to a dead halt. But like the swimming pool is named after him in Australia, and to this day, doing a Harold means just disappearing without telling
doing a
anyone.
Herald. So it's the Irish goodbye. So what was the story then? Did he was swimming in a pool and then just
no, he I think he went for a swim in the ocean, but like they like in the sea, but like they dredged everything, they searched everywhere, and they just never even found the body. And I think some people felt like just the pressure got to him, and he had some weird plan to get out of it. I don't know. I'm not sure how reliable that is.
He's gonna hang out with Ariel and the crab.
Yeah,
and flounder.
He's caught the collapse so many times. It's like applause.
We got some Missy saying here, pineapple juice cures a cough on contact. For your information, this is good to know.
I enjoy lilt.
Here come the lilt man, lilt. Totally tropical taste,
which is a tropical drink.
Grapefruit. Yeah, it was great until they put aspartame in it, which like they're doing to Fanta. You know, this is more bullshit. Oh, sugar tax, right? Basically, because there are people out there who, yes, overindulge in soft drinks. Now the rest of us are forced to drink. It's bad enough drinking sugar on the off chance because it's not great for you. But aspartame and sugar, but the aspartame just overrides the taste of the sugar, so there's no fucking point in drinking that anymore. The bastards ruining. You know, it's like Quality Street and Rose's chocolate. And no offense to Americans, but your chocolate's shite.
It's absolute dog shit. It's
fucking I got really excited in New York. I was like, oh, class, man! It's fucking kilo bag of peanut M&Ms. I was like, it's not even chocolate. I don't even think there's cocoa in it or milk.
It shouldn't crumble. It's like something you sent to soldiers in the First World War.
It wouldn't even sell them that. You know what I mean? They probably had some good quality Bourneville or Cadbury's from.
I think it was. You know, I'm not really a big fan of him, but you know Bill Bryson, the travel writer. He had this story once I read. It was in the paper a while ago, and how he was in France, and it was the first time out of America, and he was hungry, and he just went to the shop and bought a bar of chocolate, and he bit into it, and he was like, "What the fuck is this?" He was like, "This is class." Like Hershey's, like in America.
Yeah. Man, Hershey's, like when I tried it, like I was that when he went to England and he tried the chocolate.
Is the chocolate different in England?
Oh no!
When Bryce, no, he's in France actually.
Oh, he is. Because basically, I remember watching Empire of the Sun, Christian Bale and Ben Stiller and other lads, and they talk about, man, you got Hershey's. Ben Stiller's in that as well, yeah. Ben Stiller. But everyone's getting really excited about Hershey's, so I waited. You know, I was like, "Fucking Hershey's, man!" Then he came to Ireland, and I was just like, "God, they're kind of like in between a Dairy Milk and a Bourneville, but worse quality." But I think this is again capitalism for you. So they're trying to like take out ingredients and water them down, and it's aspartame is carcinogenic, says Sean. Apparently, the inventor of it, right? He was experimenting with some culture of bacteria, and a bit of it splashed onto his lip, and he's like, "Oh, that's quite sweet. I wonder, should I investigate this and see if it can be used as a replacement for sugar?" And before he'd finished his, because apparently they say that if you drink too much of it, it can, or if you consume too much aspartame, it can mimic the effects of, or mimic the symptoms of MS. Apparently.
Wow.
So I've been hearing about another civil war in the States. Well, I mean, they're
What
trying
we
to push
got
for it,
here
man,
is failure to
to
communicate.
communicate.
It reminds me of Soylent Green.
Yeah, Soylent Green, man, that's on the way, isn't it? I mean, it'd be, well, all these people around, and so me and my philanthropic organization has a place where you can go, and you can die in peace. And later on, we'll recycle your body into the food chain in the form of these very convenient green squares, and it's highly nutritious. No, I wouldn't be surprised.
And you can worship capitalism, eh? Because
Worship
capitalism.
the god of Gates.
Jordan Peterson's a weird lad.
Oh, well, that was Bill Gates. Well,
I know,
Jordan
but I was just thinking
Peterson
as well.
is,
Yeah.
I don't know what the crack is with him. Someone mentioned about meeting Netanyahu the other day, and it's like, well, I've secured yet another victory as the prime minister. The Likud party are going to be very strong on the Palestinians this time. That's a fucking shit show that's never going to be sorted out. And apparently, speaking of that song, Civil War, when everybody's fighting for the promised land, that was a reference to the Israel-Palestinian dispute.
Yeah, I think we were talking before about Bob Dylan. What's that one on the early 80s, Modern Times or something?
Oh, Neighborhood Bully.
Neighborhood Bully, yeah, the one about apparently about Israel.
Yeah, it's funny because Danny Moher was like, "No, it was about the Arab states who were the belligerents towards Israel." And I was like, "Pretty sure it wasn't."
Does Danny have opinions? Does he?
He does, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. I shouldn't know. He's a sound lad, and he looks like me if I took care of myself. I look like his bloated corpse.
But we should. It'd be nice to get me and him on it because, like, he's very funny. To be fair to him.
Yeah, no, he's a
funny. Wow, yeah. Fucking shit.
He will feel the hunger of 1,000 hippos.
Hey, Johnny, when are you going to make those meatballs for me? How many meatballs do you think you could eat? Don't know. 73. Such a random number. 73.
Has the man himself been in touch since?
He hasn't actually. He hasn't. Oh, look at this. Apparently they changed the name, but I totally had MS symptoms while drinking Coke when I was younger. Yeah, I mean, basically, it's mad because even, I think in South America, it's cheaper to buy Coca-Cola products than it is to buy actual clean water. Peace is that brief, glorious moment in history when everybody stands around reloading.
It sounds like singing is just a bit between guitar solos.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, if you start reading and accounts of people who were like living the various theaters of war across like World War I, World War II, and fucking hell, man. Like, especially on the Eastern Front, man, that was absolute hell for both the Germans and the Russians and the civilian population. It was just, so you have all these fucking regular guys who then are recruited into the military and indoctrinated to go and then basically, I mean, the mad thing is, I think basically all your morality of is this war right? Is it not right? If you're ever unfortunate enough to find yourself in a situation of like just fucking prolonged combat, deadly combat, just constant days on end, night and day, just non-stop, trying to prevent a breakthrough. Bouncing back. Everyone loves a bouncing back story.
What? Look, I haven't
very
rubbish.
It's so you've seen some terrible things in the army, like 3 men burning in a tank, going,
But that film I was telling you about, Come and See.
Yeah, I've got to watch that.
Don't.
Apparently,
Do you know what?
they're doing an updated version.
Just don't watch it. I mean, it's a great film, but just don't watch it. You won't be right for a while after it.
Could you imagine the abuse that poor bastard had to go through filming that?
Well, he went. He was only 14, and he
By
looked
the time it was
so.
finished, he was 53.
Yeah, no, he really did. Like he aged a lot during it, and there was concerns for his welfare on the set. You know, whether he was okay or not, because he was. It was just the only thing he ever. I can't even remember his name now, but it was the only thing he'd ever actually really acted in. Um, but
Yeah, I
it's like,
guess after doing that, it's a bit like the time when, what was it, Last Tango in Paris, when that
yeah,
young
that poor
girl had to do
girl.
the
Yeah,
sex scenes with Marlon Brando, and apparently he put his thumb up her bum,
yeah.
and she never acted in anything again since.
She wasn't told that that would happen. They didn't. They didn't tell her. There was no, to my knowledge, there was no consent given, and so when that happens, it happens to her for real in that moment. And yeah, she never acted again after that.
Don't blame her.
No, I certainly don't blame her at all. It's a kind of, it's not the kind of, since like I've never actually seen that film, but I just kind of, I never want to. But like now that I know that, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not watching that.
Like, if you look at Billy Bob Thornton and Halle Berry in Monsters Ball, for example,
Oh yeah,
you,
remember that one?
you kind of think like, sex scene would be fucking awkward enough, man. I mean, the only way of making a sex scene like would be just to do it, have a proper shag, but make sure both actors had consented to it, because
I just
otherwise
hate
it'd be
sex
awkward as
scenes in
fuck.
films. I always fast forward them. It's just like, just put up a title card saying they have sex. That's enough. You know, like I just they're all the same.
I
I
mean,
just
basically it's the
can't be
same
dealing
thing,
with
isn't
it.
it? It's basically a penis being inserted into a vagina
Or
at
the
a
suggestion of it is
reciprocal motion until the climax is reached, and both parties, for better or worse, have come away and resolved the sexual tension and come together closer as a unit at the end of the story, unless it was something like Basic Instinct, which
did show a
they
vagina.
did, yeah. And
Mm. But like the thing about sex scenes is like they're effectively censored. So it's like bleeping the word fuck. You know it's there, but it's cut out. So it's the same thing. Either say it or don't.
well, but the thing is as well. Here's the thing. When I was a teenager, right, and I saw a film with a good sex scene in it, that was like, I was hard currency. So that Basic Instinct VHS I had got a fair bit of usage out of it.
It's well worn out, obviously.
It's well worn out, yeah. So they know that there are going to be a lot of hormonal young lads out there watching that, and that that's going to drive up the revenue. Or it'd be like, it's like when you were a kid in school and you'd always hear about fucking Total Recall was on. Do you remember that bird with the 3 boobs? I was like, fucking Predator 2. There's a sex scene in that. Like, did they really have to have such a gratuitous sex scene in the beginning of Predator 2?
Do you know what it is? It's like something for the dads. That's kind of what it is.
Something for the dads.
It's
that
just
was
like,
a pair of peaches there that I haven't seen since the days of the NEC arena.
what does it add to the story or the characterization? Why not maybe suggest that they had sex? Why do they have to actually? It's just like, I don't know. I just can't be arsed with it all. I always fast forward them.
Oh, that American Indian he sent to get his trophy was a phony American.
Yeah, apparently.
Oh,
Yeah.
was that the guy who was in, the Italian American guy who was the Indian with the tear in his eye? He was actually a Sicilian actor.
No, but I think John Wayne tried to punch him at that ceremony.
John Wayne, my old prostate needs a good milking.
So his middle name was Marion.
Ulster Scott, apparently. I read that in Jerry Addison's book, Heads.
John Marion Way, second only to Motley Crue's The Dirt. Films for dudes who lack courage would be more honest. Just generally films about cowards. Cowards, the musical. Just people who can't get on. People who just can't get on stage because they're just too nervous.
Top Gun was partially funded by the state because there was recruitment drop in the U.S. Navy. Yeah,
It's also
I
a film
mean,
where lads just slap each other on the arse while greased up.
hanging with the boys. Ding, 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 ding. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I really do have to shoot off because the kids are
Oh,
going to be up in the morning, and I realised that I'm going to be fucking wrecked as I was an hour. But sorry for cutting this off because we would just go on for like till about 4 in the morning. I'd be like, oh man. But I just want to say to all of you, a pleasure as always, and to our co-host here, Dr. David. I think maybe we should have make this a regular thing, David. It's quite
my
nice to have.
regular Saturday night thing.
Yeah, it's nice to have the counterbalance. Just
Talk about subjects, science, religion. What would happen if you just ate crisps?
Yeah. Am I enjoying this? 3 hours now. I've been playing this. Yeah. Fuck you.
When he's watching porn, he's like, if I don't pay, it's okay. If I don't pay, it's okay. Porn is like lying to Parliament. Used to be wrong. Everyone does it now.
Oi,
Just one big joke.
give me a part of Guinness. No logo on the phone. Not buying into that corporate shit.
Well, people like Mark, sitting in.
Hans, did you steal that chocolate? Yeah, of course they did. Secret ingredient is crime.
People like Mark, they're all like Marks, aren't they? Sitting at the top of their penthouse skyscrapers, clicking their fingers to the fucking lighthouse family.
Get sucked off by Alsatian dogs.
Danny Dyer would have been good at that.
It would have been. But people listened to Coldplay and voted for the Nazis.
I think.
No, I think the Swan and Pedo hands. Yeah.
What if we keep her restrained, tightly tied?
Yeah.
The longer the note, the more dread. I was explaining in class. I was explaining the shepherd tone in a class today. You know that thing, the rising pitches. It's in No Quarter and Led Zeppelin. I wrote on the board.
Oh, you mean the?
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah.
And Summertime Madness by Kool and the Gang.
It does something kind of similar, but it's using
at the end.
But it's used in horror movies, so I wrote on the board, the longer the note, the more dread.
For any of you who don't understand what we're talking about here, this is a Peep Show, which was one of our favourite TV shows of all time. Remember that? It's all off. Like, man, I've got a second series on DVD. I'm like, class. Sit up in his room having a few totes.
Do you still talk to the Viper?
Oh, that's for the next stream, Dave.
Oh, the Viper. You guys should get back together. That was really good. What was the thing you did, the Hardy Boys? Is that the thing that you did?
Well, the Hardy Boys, good short.
Bloody good, that, yeah. Got a bit weird, after. It lost me a bit after the catchphrase that I thought was going to come but didn't.
I saw, speaking of which, I saw Blind Boy is going to be interviewing Michael D. Higgins. Any opinions on that? Have you listened to it? Will you be listening to that podcast?
Fucking why? Who gives a shit? Genuinely, who cares?
Yeah, but he's really anti-establishment.
Is he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if he was, I'm just fucking. I feel poor for knowing that now. Like, I really fucking do. Like, two wealthy people talking.
Okay, let me see what it says. Two wealthy people talking.
That's pretty much what it is.
Let me see. Oh god, I can only imagine how fucking. Yes, and that was the time I entered the Oireachtas, and then we were living in Galway at the time, and we moved then into the house in Phoenix Park, which to me was a very big change, but I do like it being there.
I can't pay my bills. Don't mind about that. This is a good publicity opportunity for both of us.
Oh, I fucking love it, hey. Let me see. Here we go. Oh, here we go. This is. He's wearing the fucking bag on it. I've just got to show you this, man.
Surely he should leave a fucking reservoir at the top of it.
I mean, I've just got this. This is the final thing. We just. So let me see. So let me just fucking cookies, man. Piss off. So here we have it. Look. How long has he had that bag for, man? I think it's the original bag from day one.
I don't like
The
just
teeth sticking out.
just
Oh yes.
like as if first of all, as if Michael D. Higgins has a clue who that is. And second of all, this is the idea of a handshake. That's more of a merger than anything else. This is a branding opportunity for both of them. And if you post
A
about how
merger.
amazing it fucking is, like if you post about how amazing it was, just I don't want to know anyone who unironically watches that.
I have to say though, David, Bilbo is looking well after he landed on the shores of the Grey Havens. So,
Looks like he's recovering from a health scare, Bilbo. You know,
so
like
let's read it. Let's read it. So, President Michael D. Higgins opens up about loneliness in our society on Blind Boys podcast. Liam De Bruyne, I got the story there. It was me that I broke the story for Irish News on Extra.ie, and it
I
was like
own knowledge and create it.
Liam De Bruyne. Okay,
It's
so I
actually
read it
Brown,
like
but I say De Bruyne because I take pride in my Irish heritage.
exactly. So President Michael D. Higgins has opened up about the loneliness in our society during appearance on Blind Boys podcast.
He's
The
surrounded by
Irish
security. I don't think he knows
president,
about loneliness, but yeah, all right.
the Irish president was a surprise guest on the Rubber Bandits Man show to discuss his Machnam 100 series and examine how the youth of the nation are being affected by the current ecumenic difficulties in Ireland. When I asked about the housing crisis that affected the youth, Mr. Higgins said, "We totally understand the degree of loneliness in society which stems from us being fuck off. Fucking noise
Here's
out
the
of that.
thing, right? These are two
Um,
people theorizing about what it might be like to have a shit life.
yeah, I mean, like, I know. Blind Boy was making fucking like 50 grand a month a couple of years back off Patreon.
Yeah,
I
so they have
wasn't even a fucking fraction of that. On Patreon, Holly Books on Patreon, if anyone wants to become a, just set it and forget it. But yeah, basically, like, I mean, I can't understand for such a small nation how he, and like, you know, I can't understand how he's making that much wedge. I mean, obviously he's a great self promoter. I have to say from working with him in the past. But it's just like how the fuck. I mean, how do you make that much money off it? I mean, like,
he has a
I
bag on his head. That's how.
and I have to say, right, Bobby, the other lad, is an absolute gentleman. When you know, like absolutely fucking sound fella. I'd go into battle for that man. You know, the
Would
experience
you
I've had
do
with him.
hard time for him?
I don't know. I wouldn't do hard time unless it was like a family member, but I'd definitely be in his corner.
But also,
And
like
like
the
I'm
bag
not
is his.
shitting on Dave or Blind Boy. You know, I'm not. But it's just basically, you know, somewhere along the way, it's like for me, I probably would have felt a degree of discomfort knowing that such handy numbers were being doled out about my person. I'd be like, what's the catch here? Like,
It's an
what's
incredible
the?
sentence.
It's a message in blood.
But
This
all right,
is your cryptic warning.
two
You know, like
two
how,
things
like
about
how?
him, right?
Go on.
The two things. First of all, the bag on the head. People wonder about that. It's branding. No one else wears a bag on their head. That's how people recognize him. Like, secondly, the guy clearly has a loyal audience and gives them what they want. That is
Mm.
all it is. He is not doing anything or affecting any change at all. He has no overheads, maximum profit, and misrepresents himself.
It's funny because there was. Let me see. Let's see if I can find this. Find this picture. Um, Electric picnic, and it's sponsored by the EU.
Oh, I remember that when you had two establishment people talking or something. Was that the?
I mean, you see, like, there's no way. Like, I'm done in terms of Ireland because my takes are too fucking spicy, and I won't be fucking like I will. Oh, here we go. I think it's this. Illuminate at electric picnic. So like, like this chat here of but there was a great one on there was a great one on. Let me see.
Oh, the second one is called Here Now.
Fuck
That's
off.
like fucking The Scale and the Pale or something.
Oh look, here it is. It's with Economist. David McWilliams.
That's a good action shot there. They're meeting in a field to talk about their battle plan
What's
for the
going on
economy.
here, man? Is he having a shit behind the rock light? I'm just fucking dropping. I'm just pinching a off by reading some really fucking high end, dorky real estate. It says dorky real estate. I think.
You know what?
I think this was.
If someone did a Mace ad, I'd have more respect for them.
Is it like just for the viewers? Dorky is probably one of the most expensive parts of Ireland to live in. Who's this lad here? Oh, it's the book festival. Cool. Oh God! Look at this. Look at this fucking shite, man. Like, Stephen Fry, man. You know, he's another one who's just fucking. He's too sweet to be wholesome. Ah, yeah, cool, man. Yeah. Look, there's my Project Red phone. I'm sure all those processors are really going to the poor, man.
This is all just making me not want to leave my house this weekend. Like just
look at the
banality of
self-assured
evil
face on that, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, talk about getting high on your own supply of cosmic ego.
I just want to ask all those people a question. Have you no work?
And look at this lad here. He's been like, class, man. Things are going to go up for me because I'm going to use this on social media. And then they're going to be like, oh, you know Bono. And he's like, I know they're fucking sellout capitalists, but I'm going to hit the big time again. QI with Jonathan Creek. Cool. I went to Galway, did arts. But, yeah, you know,
well connected.
I hope I've been able to show you that. Just oh yeah, I have. Good.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to get the real class Kookity Kluklar Clark and Schlockler Berta Gurna Schnurken Saka to Char.
Also, you know what's interesting about Blind Boy? He's taken his name from African American
the fucking
blues musicians.
The blues musician from the Delta.
So he's suggesting
what men need in Ireland is feminism. Feminism is what men need in Ireland.
Well, maybe he should address the cultural appropriation in his own, adopted name.
Talking about cultural appropriation,
or your fucking shaky understanding of it that you got off Wikipedia.
Look at him there, like that's the laptop for the shows. He's gonna put money in the laptop and send it to Zelensky. Then Zelensky's gonna send it to Biden. It's gonna go then back to him. Then he's gonna get it. He's gonna give it to D. Higgins. Then Bono's gonna have it. It's gonna get back into the laptop, and all this money will grow here in the figure of 8. An infinite amount of money just generating.
So it's not so much the politics with him. It's just the mediocrity. Like, I would rather iron my.
Look at this woman's face here, man. Look at this woman's face. She's like, God, why am I high? Like, what did you have to wear the bag? That is one of those, like,
you're wearing the hoodie, are you?
Yeah.
I like
the way that he's clasping the scroll with an index, and so I'd say, now when I'm out of here, I'm going to be the recipient of this prestigious scroll from Limerick University. He's like, just take the scroll, please. I have a busy day. I've got to hand this hat back to the beefeaters of St. James's Palace.
He also already has a degree in masters, so like he'll show up to the fucking opening of a crisp packet, obviously.
Oh, look, blind boy on mental health. Mental health, man. I swear, hey, look, if you want fucking talking mental health, talk to my mental health because I'm stuck in a fucking country where nobody recognizes my talents and I'm fucking, you know, trapped between a rock and a hard place. So talk about fucking mental health and being divorced with 2 kids and seeing your fucking career in the rear view mirror. Yeah, that's fucking mental health for you.
Any
You know,
questions, anyone?
hit me up in the fucking PayPal, Maloney's Digest. I swear to
Well,
God, man, you've no idea the fucking pressures of a daily basis. You know what I mean? I was on Facebook today and you just seeing people from across like different, people I've met over the years, and they're all, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I'm fucking pigeonholed here. And I do it because I do it for the kids, man. And like, obviously, it's a bit of a pain in the arse with the ex at times because what do you mean you're going to Vancouver? It's just like I go along to get along. At the same time, I'm kind of like I'm fucking, the frustration of being in a country where there is fuck all sense of humor. Like you go, like that time I was talking about that Guinness thing in 2007, 2016, and you asked me have I ever like tried to provoke a reaction at least out of an audience. It was a bit of a Bill Burr in Philadelphia when they were at the Opie Anthony show and they're just like slagging people off. And he was like, yeah, you fucking Philly Flyers. Ah, you fucking shit. He's like,
but at least that's a reaction,
yeah. And he was like, yeah, go fuck, go fuck yourselves. But
But speaking of your career, we'll get back on stuff. Sorry, go on.
yeah, we will do, mate. That's just man, the fucking pandemic and a divorce. I keep saying it. It's like, but man, both of them are like fucking hard work. But I'm a hard
Kryptonite.
dude. Radioactive. But yeah. So basically, these people were just standing there. I thought, like, just sitting there watching the previous acts bomb because they were intentionally making it awkward for them. It's like, let's go to a comedy show and enjoy it by trying to make the artist nervous and uncomfortable on stage. Let's do that as part of our own bit of crack for the night. So
So
when
you're
I went
gonna
up
make
there,
me
I would
laugh,
just
are you?
abuse them, man. I just fucking abused them. I was like, what's going on here, man? The fucking Asperger's in this room is off the charts.
The best one I saw was Louis C.K. walked into a room. He sensed there was a frosty reception. He went, "Great to be here. It's interesting that you're all here today, because last night I fucked all your mothers." It was just the greatest trolling.
Melody, regarding the kids, man, I have to say, man, I do not. It's tough at times, but I do not regret a minute of it because they're fantastic little human beings. They're a pain in the arse at times, and it's not easy. Like it'd be a fucking shitload easier if I was. I've got no family over here, man. Do you know what I mean? It's like family are indispensable if you have kids, and if my family in Ireland would help out all the time, to the levels of I potentially might take the piss a bit. But wait, what are you gonna do?
At least it's only two that you know of.
Two I know of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sowed some Flavin's oats in the past.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. J1 BB says, if I put a bag over my head, will I be a legend too?
He's technically symbolically getting people to suffocate themselves.
It's the allegory behind it. Look, and people might watch this and be like, oh, Martin, you're just jealous of all his fame and success. Oh, scary Irishman. But what I'm saying is, to a degree, there's possibly like when I'm basically, when I see someone is making obscene amounts of money for basically something that has become a mediocre preaching to the crowd.
Mediocre, his album.
And the thing is, I like this is just a fucking progression of, had I have been selected at that age and at that time and just kept being given handy numbers, I probably would have done the same thing back in that time. But at this stage, knowing what I know now, I'm like, nah, mate, nah.
Well, your flute's bigger than his anyway.
Well, we'd have to have a flute, the Great Irish Flute Off for that. Oh, Irish mammies.
No, I saw it on Reddit. Just there's a bunch of lads saying that your flute is 6 inches bigger, but that didn't take into account turgidity or tumescence. So,
Tumescence.
so I don't know what the starting point was, but I think
Well,
a charity sword fight might be
charity sword fight. You get the Viagra in, lads. But that was one thing I was going to say. You know, when Stuart Lee was like talking about Russell Brand, and he's like comedians these days. You know, they're all called
Russell, aren't they?
They're all called Russell. You know, they're like the skeletons from Clash of the Titans. Only their eyes are blacker. He goes, strike one down, 3 more will take its place. And he was like, the thing is about talking about Russell Brand. You know, it's like talking. You know, it's so ubiquitous these days. It's like talking about the weather, and that's kind of like how I am with Blind Boy. I haven't seen the man for a long time. We got on well. There was like never any problems, but it just got to the stage where it was just like, you know, it's like he's like an elemental particle that exists within the ether of the Irish atmosphere.
Johnny's like, right? He's like Krang inside.
It's like enriched uranium.
He's like Krang inside in the Turtles, inside that guy's stomach, but the body is Irish culture, and he's the head inside it.
Redder.
Yeah, pretty much.
Get these mutant turtles.
I think that was just a very ill man. Just, you know.
Funny enough, I saw a picture of Honey Boo Boo and the mother, right? And Honey Boo Boo was like in front of her like this, and I'm just gonna get it up for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honey Boo Boo, Krang. It's so fucking good, man. Oh, come on. Just like how can I just get the screen?
Am I your Jamie to pull things up for you?
Oh, if you could do it from your side, it'd be well handy. Like look at how similar these two are. I mean, it's fucking insane.
It's like Roy Orbison and Arlene Foster.
But it's like it's absolute genius.
Can you share it? Can you share it?
Share the link.
I can't see it on my screen.
Oh shit! Sorry, I thought.
No, I can't see it.
Oh right. Oh sorry, I thought you could all see it.
No, so we have Electric Picnic, and now it's gone again. You've gone again.
1 second. Let me see. Oh, I probably had to share the tab, but that's why. Shit, there's me laughing away to myself, and
you shared Driving Miss Daisy, but you only watched that for a couple of minutes.
Oh, Driving Miss Daisy. You know, I started showing my son Rainbow, and there's a really funny bit in Rainbow where he's like, "Oh, look, George is building a tower out of blocks," and he goes, "Oh yeah," and he knocks over Bungle's blocks, and then he goes, "You're not a very good builder, are you, George?" Or was it the Bungle? And he's like, You meant to do it. Now I'm angry. I'm disappointed and cross." And he leaves and goes, "Oh, what's wrong with him?"
Watching that is the closest simulation of schizophrenia you could possibly imagine.
All right, get ready for the meme. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking uncanny.
Who's that on the left?
So that's Honey Boo Boo and her mother.
Who's Honey Boo Boo?
There was this thing that was on TV about 10 years ago. She was like some pageant kid who came from, a financially impoverished family for the time until the discovery, and became some sort of like overnight success.
I never heard of it.
Zippy and his big red one. Oh.
And there's of course the Teletubbies, and one of them just has a big flute on his head.
Yeah, exactly. Tinky Winky. Can I recommend any bands, Martin? Cheers. Ooh.
Have you heard of Another Level?
Another Level featuring Jane
Cracking.
Bowers.
Bell Bellfire.
There's a band called The Sword, Ian. They're pretty good. Orange Goblin, Van Halen, fucking Guns N' Roses. You can't go wrong. Obviously Oasis.
Rod Stewart.
Rod Stewart is 80s stuff. Fuck, I don't know, man, off the top of my head.
I'll give you one. Gordon Lightfoot.
Gordon Lightfoot. Like, that's really, you know, it's like saying, tells a joke. Like, oh, fuck. And then later on, I'll be like, oh, why didn't I tell him this? But I'm going to have to. Johnny Thunders, yeah, man. Johnny Thunders is.
The Black Crows. The Black Crows will not let you down.
Thin Lizzy, man. Like Thin Lizzy just is such an extensive back catalogue. Rory Gallagher. I mean, these are all like people who are like, yeah, I listen to Radio Nova. You know, that's another fucking. It should have been a great fucking radio station. You're playing classic rock and fucking rock and roll, but it's just like, whoa, she moves in mysterious ways, and like, what's that fucking 90s Bon Jovi song? It's not You Got the Look. It's like some ticka down. It's like real. Yeah, they just play mediocre, like stagnant phases of bands that have had their peak. But anyway, I'm going off on one.
Do you know, I'd really recommend Ian is it's not who was it? Not the Black Crows. Oh shit, it's gone totally out of my head now.
Wait, what are your opinions on Rush? I never really got into them.
Not really a progman myself.
Yeah, I'm not myself.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Listen to the Stooges' Raw Power, but listen to it all in one sitting. It is in the top 10 greatest albums of all time.
Yeah, Raw Power, definitely. That's a fucking great show.
It has every single track on that, and they did it so well because when they brought the amps, they brought AC30s into the studio, and they're like, "We're going to turn them up full," and the engineer was like, "No, you can't." They were like, "Well, we have." And so the microphone tops out, and that's how they get that tone from the AC30. It's just an incredible
Search and Destroy, man. Fucking great.
But even things like Down on the Street, Penetrate, Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. It's just incredible stuff. So I would recommend one of my favorite albums of all time, Raw Power.
Yeah, it's a fucking great one. Well, look, I'm gonna have to knock it up. At least you got an extra half-hour bonus time of my freak out about my current status quo. And the
also status quo.
Status quo, 12 bar blues, 12 bar gold, and what else? There was also the life and times of Blind Boy as well. Always he's a frequent mention.
The financial times of Blind Boy.
The financial times, the financial life of times of Blind Boy Boat Club.
Self-explanatory.
Self-explanatory. We wish him well. Right. Okay, everyone. Thank you, David, for being my co-guest here. Let's make this a regular Friday night feature. I quite like the chats, and we can talk about things that have happened while going through Twitter. Okay. Winty Chippendale. We wish him well on his recovery.
Good Roger Moore, though.
Roger Moore, yes. Oh, hello, Alan. Idea for a Millennium Barn Dance featuring Jet from Gladiators.
Properly placed.
Properly placed. This must not turn into an all-night rave. I repeat, must not turn into an all-night rave. Sally Flow, 3:30. Half an hour ago, I mashed up half a pound of Dundee cake into this baby. Gone.
Change that to bad attitudes.
Dr. David, kiss to the future missus. Well, I've got to go. Good night and God bless everyone. Thank you very much for sticking around. Adieu, adieu, adieu. The stream is over. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord. Take care. Bye-bye.